The story begins in a certain icy and snowy region. In the middle of the vast white snow, there was a figure sitting cross-legged on the cliff. He smiled, exposing his strong body, blending into the bone-chilling cold here. He just sat there meditating and enduring the wind and snow. I don't know how long it took, but he slowly raised his hand. He spread his arms to catch the white snowflakes flying in the wind. Someone's voice kept appearing in his head. "My son, the rumors about the underworld are putting our family in danger." The young man slowly opened his eyes, awakening from his meditation. He reached out his other hand and touched the outstretched arm. "White path, black path, divine power, demon power. Son, which side will you stand on? If you appear in the world, the whole world will become your enemy. The lonely war will also begin from there. But don't forget your ancestors and their contributions. Be patient, be persistent, it will make you stronger." The young man raised his arms and frantically circulated his energy. The white snow from all sides gathered towards him. An explosion very quickly occurred where he was sitting. Snow-white ice crystals also shot out simultaneously. The young man breathed a sigh of relief, smiling as he opened his eyes. Today's training session at Tuet Wai Fong finally ended. Suddenly a gust of wind blew past, causing him to shiver. "It's so cold, Mom. The cold wind in Tuet Wai Fong can't be adapted no matter how much I practice." He quickly got up and put his clothes back on. "Now let's go down the mountain, shall we?" The scene changes to the village at the foot of the mountain. About 6 months left. If you eat frugally you can last a year. Since the previous owner passed away, all commercial activities have been interrupted. We have sold all our valuables, but the situation is still not improving. This is really worrying. "Don't worry, I will definitely make money." And then he carried his luggage and said goodbye to the villagers. The old man asked worriedly, "Does the family head really have to go to the North Heavenly Realm?" The young man asked back, "Is there any problem getting there?" The old man suggested, "Then why don't you try traveling around the vast world before doing that? There's no need to go to such a place first." The young man smiled, "I will go traveling later. Now is the time to earn a lot of money. We also need to gain experience, learning from major alliances and doing missions. We will gain more experience sooner. I'm 20 years old now. I have to support my family with my own ability. Don't worry too much." The middle-aged man waved his hand. "You can do what you want, but let me know your news from time to time." The rest of the crowd also spoke up in unison. "As long as we don't hear any news, we will go look for you, so please write back often, and only take part in the 4th level exams. The higher the level, the harder the exam will be." The young man waved his hand. Why worry so much? Just wait. I will bring good news soon." If this continues, it will be too late. Even though Baishanming is not far, I still need to register on time. "It's cold outside. Everyone come inside quickly." He then quickly left. The crowd standing there watched his back as he said goodbye. "If things get too difficult, you can come back anytime. We'll always be here waiting for your news." The teenager carried great determination and left a path of constant movement but still felt slow. "It's late. Should we run a little faster?" He then accelerated his speed and flew away. This atmosphere, this wind is so wonderful. The scene changes to the north of Tianmin, where there are currently many people gathered. Young people were also present in the crowd. It was really crowded. I didn't expect there to be so many people gathered here. Just then, a voice called out to him, "Has Bai Wuxian arrived from the snowy mountains yet?" The young man hurriedly ran up excitedly. "I'm here, manager. Confirm that you're applying for level 4, right?" Bok Vio Tran nodded. "Yes." The people around were all shocked by him. "What's so young? A guy with a reputation still in his teens is registering for the 4th level. He must be from the 5 great families." Inside there were 3 judges sitting there. As soon as Bok Vio Tran entered, they started asking, "Bok Vio Tran, right? Because you come from the Bok family, I have considered it quite a bit. Well, it is recorded that quite a while ago, Bai from the Bai family helped the Northern Zen sect. It is not stated the exact number of soldiers, so it seems that he only brought a small group." Bai Wuxian explained, "That is my paternal grandfather." The examiner continued, "Honestly, without this pile of documents, it would probably be very difficult for you to pass the 4th level exam. I want to hear your real reason." Bok Vio Tran said without any concealment, "I need to make money and I applied to gain experience." The 3 people were very surprised when they heard that. Money and experience. Bok Vio Tran continued, "Besides, it was because this was the strongest force in the Chuangjiang River region. Is the white force that is restraining the black forces like the Nine Heavens Ming and the Iron Blood Gang. But the white forces also often pursue hegemony. Before he passed away, my father said this about the Northern Heavens Ming." All 3 of them listened very attentively. "What did he say?" Bai Wuxian did not hide anything and honestly said it. He said that the Northern Heavenly Alliance does not distinguish between origins. As long as it's not a demonic path, it's fine. People like that gather in one place, so almost every day there are fights. The 3 people's faces all wrinkled after hearing this. A fight. Bai Wuxian bowed his head. Sorry, but that's what my father said. The judge waved his hand for him to continue. Bai Wuxian, with permission, continued to speak, but the most important thing is that they gathered under the spirit of chivalry, which is a place where people can live according to their ideals. The old man was startled and thought to himself, chivalry. It's been a long time since I heard these two romantic words. He then said, you must understand that the 4th level exam is very difficult, right? Even if you pass the application review, most people are eliminated in the martial arts test. Bai Wuxian nodded. I've heard about it. The old man smiled. You seem very confident. Bok Vio Tran smiled and did not answer, as if he had admitted it. The old men then let him go to the martial arts arena. Who will be responsible for the martial arts competition? I heard that the vice captain of the sword team will come, but I don't know who. If it were them, it would be difficult for anyone to get through. Bok Vio Tran stood on the stage, eyes closed, breathing quietly, waiting. The old man standing below observed thoughtfully. No, we have to wait and see. There is something very strange. Very quickly someone walked up to the stage. Seeing the person coming, the old man couldn't help but be startled. A white-bodied martial artist walked towards Bai Wu Town. This person is a gangster. Bok Vio Chan was still standing there, eyes closed, breathing, without any reaction. After a while he slowly opened his eyes. Two people face to face, 4 eyes looking at each other. The judge also spoke up at this time. If both of you are ready, then let the competition begin. Go! Bok Vio Tran took the initiative to clasp his hands and introduce himself. Jiang Yi also politely returned the greeting. I am Jiang Yi from the MOGN team. Before the competition begins, I have something to report to the judge. Can our team members attend? The old man flatly refused. Another old man exclaimed in doubt. Why refuse? Usually, a few people are allowed to attend. The supervisor replied. Jiang Yi was a deputy captain who was respected by everyone. He probably didn't want his subordinates to see him fail. Even if it was unfortunate, he should still be careful. He secretly affirmed in his heart that this Bai Wuxian was definitely not an ordinary person. Bok Vio Tran stood there observing the opponent, silently analyzing. The true spirit of a veteran. Zhang Yingip asked him coldly, are you ready? Bok Vio Town nodded. Then, as soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yingip immediately drew his sword. Unexpectedly, Bok Vio Chan still stood there with no intention of drawing his sword. This made Jiang Yi very confused. Aren't you going to draw your sword? Bok Vio Tran was startled. He lowered his head to look at the long sword hanging at his waist and thought to himself, no need to draw sword. Thinking for a moment, he waved his hand. It's okay. I'm ready. Angry Zhang Yingip. But, the judge was also very surprised in his heart. Only using palm techniques to compete? I really can't understand. Does he mean his opponent isn't worth drawing his sword for? Does he dare to look down on the river industry like that? But never mind, this is his choice anyway. Zhang Yingip took the initiative to charge forward and attack first, but still did not forget to remind, then be careful. A sword that was both fast and strong headed straight for the white-headed town. Bok Vio Tran did not stand still and wait to die, but actively retreated to avoid it. The distance between him and the sword tip could only be measured in millimeters. Jiang Ye's attack failed and he coldly snorted, then he continued to swing his sword repeatedly. Bai Wuxian on the opposite side similarly dodged back and forth to avoid everything. The assistant supervisor watching the battle below couldn't help but exclaim, what a skillful dodge. The judge was stunned and thought to himself, not only was he skillful, he should have said he dodged easily. The family business on the radio is very bitter. Brat, let's see how long you can avoid it. He jumped up and used all his strength to attack again. Bai Wuxian is still easy to avoid. Moreover, one arm was placed on his chest. From his arm immediately after that, true energy erupted. A terrible cold air quickly spread around. The crowd of observers were shocked. What is this? What is this cold air? Bai Wuxian on the stage suddenly withdrew his hand. Ah, I forgot. I have to restrain myself. Jiang Yi was shocked. His eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. He then took the initiative to retreat, increasing the distance. There was still a cold chill lingering in his chest. The judge secretly praised in his heart, really good. The winner and loser were already decided. Zhang Yingip could not bear to shout loudly to support this. He rushed forward again to attack. Bok Vio Tran was very confused in his heart. What the hell? Isn't it over already? Why is he still rushing forward? No matter how much Jiang Yi was madly slashing, he still couldn't touch a single hair of Bai Wuxian. The more he fought in the martial arts world, the more uncomfortable he felt. He did not come from a noble family. In one look and you could tell he had just entered the martial arts world. Why was he able to avoid all my sword moves? Bok Vio Chan. Avoiding it for a long time has started to feel uncomfortable. Must I knock out my opponent to be considered finished? If so, then I have to do it. Thinking of this, he raised his sword to block the opponent's long sword, then press hard on the ground, then tossed it up causing the river to lose balance. Zhang Yingip felt even more angry inside. He only used his sword sheath to block my move. What's with that bright expression? Jiang Ye's sword blade was continuously blocked by Bai Wuxian using the hilt of the sword. The more I play Bai Wuxian, the more excited I feel. Great, this is the feeling I was looking for when I was cultivating on the snow-clad peak. Jiang Yi was furious and his face twisted in anger as he yelled again, "Take this." Bai Wuxian's face also wrinkled. True Qi quickly condensed into his palm. However, he still has limits. He knew the other party was not an enemy, so he would end it gently. Before making his move, he also reminded the opponent to be careful. His figure immediately disappeared from the spot. Then, suddenly appeared behind and slapped the opponent. Zhang Yingyip was sent flying by this palm strike and could only scream miserably. This palm strike directly sent him flying off the stage, hitting wall. Bai Wuxian's face was full of helplessness. I tried to control myself, but I was still a bit too heavy-handed. Zhang Yingyip writhed on the ground, holding his shoulder and groaning in pain. The judge once again confirmed in his mind that this Bai Wuxian was indeed not an ordinary warrior. He is a real master. Zhang Yingyip could not bear to grit his teeth and looked at Bok Vio-chan. He then flew towards Bok Vio-chan, wanting to attack again. Bok Vio-chan's face now showed obvious discomfort. The crowd of supervisors below shouted at him to stop. But Jiang Yi completely ignored anyone's advice, and very quickly arrived in front of Bai Wuxian again. But before he could make another move, his body suddenly became limp, then collapsed in front of Bok Vio-chan. He just passed out on the spot. The people below hurriedly ran up to see. "Vice Captain Kong, are you okay? Wake up." Bok Vio-chan bowed his head to look at the other person. Suddenly a bloody and disgusting scene appeared in his mind. He closed his eyes and sighed. It was just the beginning. He explained to the crowd, "I restrained my palm force just enough to defeat him. He will wake up soon." The supervisor was even more terrified. He was already an adult and yet he could still use internal energy to restrain himself. Who the hell is he? Zhang Yingyip was then taken to the medical room for treatment. "Shall we escort the vice captain back to the sword team now?" "No, if we do that, it might cause a misunderstanding. Take him to the medical hall and report back to his captain." Zhang Yingyip was now awake, but he was like a lost soul lying there crying like a child because of humiliation. The judge reminded that this was a fair match, although in terms of martial arts, this match lasted longer than usual. The people around were puzzled, but they wondered what martial arts Bai Wuxian had used. "It seems like ice cream. Dare to be startled. Ice attack." A moment later, he went to see Bok Vio-chan. "Welcome, White Warrior. Let me introduce myself. I am Li Yanqing of the executive." The white-haired man bowed his head. "So how should I address him?" The old man walked over and patted him on the shoulder. "Just call me Senior. I know you went easy on me in the last match." But perhaps Zhang Yingyip was too ashamed to act like that. Zhang Yingyip must have also known that at that time, victory and defeat had already been decided. He is not a petty person, so you don't need to worry. Just visit him later. I still have to report to my superiors, but you have already been approved. Looks like the North Heavenly Alliance has a new talent. Bok Vio-chan smiled. "Thank you." "You," Li Yanqing exclaimed, "your martial arts are truly extraordinary. Isn't that martial arts from the Cold Ice Valley?" Bok Vio-chan was stunned. "Han Bangkok, this is the first time I've heard that name. I'm just learning the family's martial arts." He secretly sighed in his heart. The White Path really does not easily accept differences. Li Yanqing nodded. "That's right, if it was a demonic technique, you wouldn't have dared to use it in front of us. However, this characteristic is easily misunderstood." Bok Vio-chan asked again. "Yes, if someone doubts, what should I say?" Ly Dian Han suddenly fell into deep thought. What if someone suspects? The matter of ghosts is very sensitive. If misunderstood, it would be really awkward. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Just say it. You used the 10,000-year snow ginseng. Such a thing can happen." Bai Wuxian suddenly came to his senses. "I understand. This is indeed a reasonable answer." Li Yanqing was surprised. That makes sense." "What?" Bai Wuxian's expression was very calm. "That's right, because I really ate that thing." Li Yanqing was shocked again and was dumbfounded. He didn't linger any longer and immediately headed outside. "What a clever joke. You should rest. I'll come talk to you after I finish arranging the documents." Bok Vio-chan scratched his face. Are you kidding? Why doesn't he believe it? After returning, Ly Dian Han and his subordinates started researching and found out his martial arts. "Right, it's very similar to ice martial arts. We have very little information about the Bok family in Tuat Sun, so it's hard to determine. I didn't expect someone like him to appear. Maybe we should invite the elders who know about the Bok family." Li Yanqing agrees. "Then we have to wait. In the meantime, send someone to investigate around the Snow Mountain area. If something goes wrong, we are responsible. So let's investigate quietly. Who's next?" The other person quickly took out the list. The two candidates for the 5th-level martial artist were Shimin Ko and Zhou Ziyun. Ly Dian Han was a little surprised. "Taemon Kok, you mean the second son of the Taemon family, the one that is often talked about in the martial arts world?" This year is full of monsters. That Bai Wuxian, how strong do you think he is? It seems like he hasn't used all his strength yet, the other person replied. It was hard to say. Jiang Yi was not a weakling, perhaps even the team leaders would have a hard time confronting him. Ly Dian Han ordered, not knowing his true strength yet, so let's keep this a secret for now, let's pay more attention to him. Waiting for the other person to leave, he picked up the list again and pondered. I am a person who specializes in processing information, but I have never heard of the Bai family of the Snowy Mountains. Based on his abilities, he might be useful. He could be used as an insider. He will help us investigate the dark side or problematic gangs. If he is well polished, he will be very valuable. Transition to pharmacy. The acupuncture needles on Jiang Ye's shoulder were now filled with needles, and Bai Wuxian's handprint was still clearly imprinted on it, without any signs of deterioration. A person came to ask, how does it feel to be defeated by a candidate? Jiang Ye is upset. What else? It's really embarrassing. The other person asked again, I heard he uses ice technique, what do you think? Jiang Yi explained, he was very strong, but thinking back, the feeling of being hit by the ice captain at that time was quite strange. I just felt my body heavy as if I was sinking in snow, that's all. I guess he thought I was weak, so he went easy on me. Thanks to that I recovered so quickly. I really have to thank him. The other person sighed and agreed to let me learn his martial arts. No matter what, I have to fight him myself. Loser, you rest. Your captain will do the work for you. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yinggeep stopped him and let the others go. Go. I think he is stronger than that captain. The captain was angry and did not believe it. He loudly went out and spoke ambiguously. The family business lay there and exclaimed, you will realize when you are defeated, just like me. A deputy warden has come to look for Bai Wuxian. If you need anything, just call the servant. You can eat anything here, but you cannot drink alcohol. Bok Vio Tran walked over and sat down on a chair, not saying anything. The other person walked over and continued to chat. I was really impressed when I saw you compete. Bok Vio Tran just replied perfunctorily to finish the matter and had no intention of dragging it out. After thinking for a long time, he once again explained, this place was once used by the White Sword team before. What a coincidence, right? I mean the people of the Bai family in the place where the Bai Jian team used to be. Even your sword is quite similar to theirs, although you have not drawn it. Bok Vio Tran heard that and immediately raised his hand to pick up the long sword. The middle-aged man stood still and sighed. What the hell did I just say? He then excused himself and wanted to leave. Before leaving, he suddenly remembered something. Ah, what was that force you used earlier? It was so powerful that even the vice-captain of the Black Sword team couldn't handle it. Bok Vio Tran did not hide it and said that it was Bok Hoa. Palm. Middle-aged man was stunned. White flower palm. This is the first time I've heard of this palm technique. There's one more thing I need to tell you. If you pass, there will be a waiting period. During this waiting period, you'll be very busy. Bok Vio Tran asked again, what should we do during that time? The middle-aged man explained, no, it's just that there will be team leaders coming to pull you over or someone wants to see you. After all, you just defeated the vice-captain of the Black Sword team. Not to mention you won overwhelmingly. There's no way the other vice-captains will let it go. Even the captains will show up. Maybe things will get so chaotic that even the leader will have to show up. Bok Vio Tran was surprised. What do you mean? The middle-aged man explained. What I mean is that martial arts competitions are very common here and many newcomers will find it troublesome. There will be quite a few people who want to teach a newcomer like you. Bok Vio Tran looked at him doubtfully. Have you ever done that? Middle-aged man smiled. Me? Never. I always avoid that. It sounds like an excuse, but with the implementation of the for us, using our heads is much more advantageous than using our fists and feet. Fighting in any way is still fighting. Alright, congratulations on joining the Northern Heaven Alliance. I'm going first, get some rest. He then quickly left without further delay. Bok Vio Tran clenched his fists and secretly determined, competition, I'm always ready. He was sitting there when suddenly he felt something was wrong, turned around and saw a figure standing there. A man about 30 years old wearing orange clothes appeared before his eyes. The two looked at each other, and for a moment no one said anything. After a while, the other person asked Bok Vio Chan, are you from the Bok Keen team? Seeing Bok Vio Chan deny, made him very surprised. Then why are you here? Here, Bai Wuxian explained, I'm waiting for the final results of the application. The other person exclaimed with interest, so you passed the application round. Impressive, I am Shimin. Bok Vio Tran also introduced himself. 11 men secretly thought to himself, this guy must be lucky. He looks like a cat. But wait, doesn't this country bumpkin know my reputation? He walked over and sat down on a chair opposite Bai Wuxian. So there were 2 people who had passed the exam. It was said that if they waited in this area, they would all be level 5 or level 4. Bai Wuxian was surprised. 2 people was already a lot, right? The other Westgate nodded. That's right, the 4th class and 5th class bandits rarely had people register, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to pass. 2 people was already considered a lot. Most of them joined the 7th class and 8th class level. Bok Vio Tran nodded. I understand. Shimin-ko asked again, where did Brother Bai come from? Hearing him say he came from the snowy mountains, Shimin-ko couldn't help but be stunned. Snow Mountain, if you don't mind, can you tell me what sects are there? Bai Wuxian calmly replied, it's the Snow Mountain Bai family. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent, because the other Westgate people had never heard of this family's name. But he couldn't be too excited, so he could only pretend to say it. Ah, so it's the Snow Mountain Bai family, Bai Wuxian asked again. Do you know? The West suddenly exclaimed. I really have never heard of it. Snow Mountain White family. I am also confident that I know a lot about martial arts, but this is the first time I have heard of this name. Bok Vio Tran was not disappointed, but instead smiled. That's normal. Another Shimin asked, Brother Bai, you don't have any injuries. Did you overwhelm your opponent, or were you exempted from the martial arts competition? Bai Wuxian replied, I fought with people from the Majia team. I think Brother Shimin should have defeated his opponent easily. Shimin-ko burst out laughing. Ha, me, that's right. Are you new to the martial arts world, Brother Bai? Have you ever heard of the Taemon family? Bok Vio Tran nodded. Ever heard of it? Shimin-ko was extremely surprised in his heart. What kind of reaction was that? Shouldn't he be excited, eyes wide open, and extremely surprised? Thinking of this, he asked again, it seems like you've only heard about it but don't know it very well. Bok Vio Tran nodded. That's right, I've only heard about it but don't know it clearly. The other Westerner was so excited that his mouth was wide open. Don't you know about the 5 great families? Bok Vio Chan was still very calm. The 5 great families. Ha! The other Westerner excitedly rushed closer to him, really not knowing. In his heart, he could not understand how this country bumpkin passed the application round. The two then talked about the 5 great families. Bok Vio Tran said several names one by one. Namkung family, that's right, it's one of the 5 great families. There's also the Zhuge family. Shimin-ko sighed. You're really joking. Besides the Zhuge Liang family, is there anyone else outstanding in that family? Bai Wuxian spoke again. What about the Sima family? Another Shimin stopped him. This is happening again, not to mention the famous families of the 3 kingdoms period. Bok Vio Tran then continued to list several names such as the Royal family, the Ha Bac Bang family, the Da Ko family. The other Westerners felt more and more helpless as they listened. Why don't you know anything about the martial arts world? This is so infuriating. Bok Vio Chan nodded. Ah, I really don't know. But, 11 men said harshly, listen carefully, the Nangong family, the Dugu family, the Sichuan Tang family, the Baili family and our 11 men family are the 5 great families of the time. Bai Wuxian suddenly woke up. Ah, so that's how it is. 11 men thought bitterly, at least he should show surprise. This guy is really unpleasant. So who did you compete with in the sword team? Bai Wuxian pondered. I don't remember very well either. The other Shimin shouted. What? Try to remember. How did you forget so soon after the fight? Bai Wuxian, after thinking for a while, finally remembered. Oh, I remember now. It's Jian Yob, isn't it Jiang Yip? Shimin-ko was sweating profusely. Jiang Ye vice captain was wearing the sword team. Can you win him? Shimin-ko was terrified. I'm not sure I can win against that guy. But wait, why does this guy have to fight the vice captain? We have to check it ourselves. Anyway, there's nothing to do now. Thinking of this, he stood up. Let's have a competition. Bok Vio Town also stood up. Okay. Shimin-ko waved his fan. Is it okay if I use an iron fan? Bok Vio Tran waved his hand. Go ahead. The other Westgate was suspicious. He decided to use his bare hands. Huh, Bok Vio Tran asked back. Is there a problem? The other Westgate felt offended. It seems I was mistaken. I thought you were a polite person, but you turned out to be just an arrogant person. After saying that, he immediately rushed forward and took the initiative to attack. Bok Vio Tran leaned back, avoiding his fan. Shimin-ko did not stop, continuing to wave his fan. But no matter how he swung, Bok Vio Tran still avoided it. After a period of continuous attacks without results, the other Westgate shouted loudly to urge his internal energy. A fan carrying powerful true energy slashed out. Bai Vio Chan tiptoed and jumped up. The fan blade was only a small distance from his neck, but in the end he still retreated to avoid it. Shimin-ko now had to look at the other person with different eyes. I thought his martial arts were as exaggerated as he said, but I didn't expect it to be so refined. The Bai family's footwork is also very strange. Looks like it's sliding on the ground. So, he quickly rushed up again. Bok Vio Chan still used his body technique to dodge as usual. Shimin-ko shouted angrily, how long are you going to avoid it? Following his shout, Bai Wuxian's face was covered by a black membrane. Shimin-ko wanted to blind him and find a loophole. Very quickly he found the opportunity. He retracted his fan and waved his hand, wanting to point at the opponent's stomach. But unexpectedly, Bai Wuxian was still able to dodge in the critical moment. The other Shiman couldn't believe it. I didn't hit. Bok Vio Tran secretly sighed in his heart. This guy must have trained very hard, but his internal energy is still lacking. Shiman was not satisfied, gritted his teeth again and concentrated his true energy into the iron fan and struck. The tip of the iron fan had now turned yellow due to the condensation of his true energy. Bok Vio Tran did not dodge anymore. He raised his hand to block. This made 11 Men Ku extremely surprised. He used his hand to block my iron fan. Yeah, is he crazy? I will pierce your hand. Don't regret it. The blade and the shockless white hand quickly collided. Cold air immediately radiated from the white arm. Out, he gently placed his whole hand on the iron fan, then waved his hand up at an extremely fast speed. Before Shiman Ku could understand what was happening, his wrist was grabbed. He regained his composure, clenched his other hand, and continued to attack. Strike! Bok Vio Tran also similarly raised his other hand to block. Immediately after that, the other West Gate was forced to retreat. Just as he stabilized, his body jerked. His iron fan was frozen at this moment. He did not dare to be careless, immediately let go of the iron fan and threw it away. Out! He painfully hugged his arms and continuously gasped for breath. His posture was quite tight. Bok Vio Tran bent down to pick up the iron fan and opened it to take a look. I thought there was a hidden weapon, but it turned out to be just a normal iron fan. Don't pretend anymore, it seems you have given it your all. The other West Gate received the iron fan from his hand, his face showing obvious displeasure. He cursed in his heart, damn it, who would have thought that someone would use ice technique? The two then sat down at the table again. The other West Gate glanced at the other side and asked, Brother Bok's martial arts are truly profound. How come he suddenly fell into deep thought at this point? How could he be so strong? Also, what's with that innocent look? If he's that strong, shouldn't his eyes radiate domineering aura? This is really annoying. At this moment, another person came in from outside. The two of them had passed the application round. The other person's face was bruised. He introduced himself. I am Zhou Ziyun. Bai Wuxian made an inviting gesture in response. You also passed the application round. Go sit over there and wait, Zhou Ziyun asked from the other side of the West Gate. And this brother is? Bai Wuxian quickly introduced. This is another Shiman from the Shiman family, one of the 5 great families. Shiman Ku angrily shouted, Enough, why are you introducing me, Brother Beck? Chu Tu Van was extremely surprised when he learned of his identity. He never expected to meet 11 men Miao Xian here. It was truly an honor. The other 11 men were secretly pleased. This was the right reaction. He waved his hand and acted like a young master in response. Nice to meet you, brother. Chu Tu Van asked again. But how come you two are safe? I almost didn't make it. Bok Vio Tran smiled and said briefly to finish the story. After a while, the supervisor returned again. You who passed the 5th level, Shiman Ku and Zhou Ziyun, please go out. As for you who passed the 4th level, Bai Wuxian, please wait a little longer. Chu Tu Van was surprised. You are a 4th level, really unbelievable. Shiman started to connect the details in his mind. He had competed with the deputy captain at the 4th level and was still unharmed. His martial arts were truly extraordinary. Bok Vio Tran clasped his hands and said goodbye to the crowd. Very quickly it turned dark. Bok Vio Tran was led to a resting room. He stood in the yard, looking up at the bright moon. So the first day is over. I don't know what will happen in the coming days. He then jumped onto the roof to get some fresh air. He held a letter in his hand, deep in thought. The letter's content was Son. This is not just our father and son story, but it is also a family matter. Our family has a unique martial art called the White Flower Divine Art. It is a martial art that is different from the path of cultivation of the White Path. But that doesn't mean it can be called magic. However, our family alone cannot change the vigilance of the righteous martial arts world. As a result, our family moved to the snowy mountains to live in the mountains, which is called retreating from the martial arts world. We have always existed quietly in such ice. Through the generations, each homeowner has left behind legacies and careful preparations for the next generation. Someone went to Wanzhong Creek Valley on the Tianshan mountain range and brought back snow ginseng. Some people went to the South China Sea to find black iron and brought it back to make good swords. Not only that, some people even brought back poison-repelling pills, which were harder to find than the treasured sword. With the wish that future generations will prosper, the owners of the house constantly search for treasures and also constantly hope. Everyone believes that one day a descendant will inherit those legacies and make the family famous throughout the world. Isn't that amazing? We and our predecessors have been stubborn like that, and we pride ourselves on our stubbornness. You must keep these words in mind and live up to that wish, because we do not expect anything from you. What we long for, what we have endured for generations, just hoping that one day our family will rise up and become a dragon. I have thought long and hard about whether I should take on this responsibility or leave it to you, whose natural abilities far surpass mine, but then I stopped hesitating. Just like how your grandfather gave me hope, I also decided to trust you. Therefore, all the legacy of the previous life and that sacred mission are all yours, Wu Jin. Do your best to live up to our expectations. I, your incompetent father, hope that one day you will rule the world. At that time, no matter if I am in heaven or hell, I will always wait for your news. After reading, he closed his eyes and sighed. How could his father leave such heart-touching words? He reached into his shirt and took out a ring, then put it on his hand. From the ring immediately a light radiated. He closed his eyes and concentrated to begin sensing. A beam of light quickly shot out from the ring. The light slowly splits into flowers. Very quickly, a cluster of glowing flowers flew into the air. Bok Vio Tran Hai smiled and looked at the flying flower cover. Go, you will be free to spread your wings and become stronger than anyone. The next morning, at home, eat. A sumptuous meal was laid on the table. Chu Tu Van sat with the two people, Bok Vio Tran, extremely excited. It was so sumptuous. Shimin Ku sighed. With such good food and drink, we might have to work hard in the future, Zhou Ziyan continued, but since they were treated like this, it was reasonable to work hard. But at this rate, Brother Shimin must have enjoyed it a lot, right? Brother Mujin, eat naturally too. It's really embarrassing for me to eat alone. Bok Vio Tran didn't say much, immediately started chopsticks. The other Westgate asked him, Brother Mujin, where are you going? With your strength, you must be invited to many places. Bok Vio Tran asked again, Brother Taimon, tell me which team made the most money. Money? Did you come to Bai Shimin to make money? Bai was and nodded, so what? It's convenient for me. Shimin replied, of course it's okay, with your martial arts, if you join my Shimin family, your treatment will be dozens of times higher than here. Ah, but being a guest of a noble family is a bit inconvenient, and you can't join the sect because your family also practices martial arts, so what position do you have in the Bok family? I guess you're the young master. Bok Vio Tran calmly replied that he was the owner. The other Westgate secretly sighed in his heart. It seemed that his family was facing difficulties, so he came to the north of the sky. The three of them finished eating and left, chatting as they walked. In the northern sky there are people called knights. They specialize in killing evil people and receiving rewards. Well, think about it. To rule a region, of course you have to ensure order in that region. At first, the forces shared lists of those who had committed murders and escaped or those who caused trouble. But now it's turned into a hit list. The more famous the underworld master you can kill, the more reward you will get. Furthermore, this isn't a rank-related quest, so it shouldn't affect your team selection. If you're interested, check it out. Bai Wuxian smiled. A knight, that sounds interesting. The other Westgate shouted, what's so interesting about it? It's so hard. If we don't catch them, it's all for nothing. Not to mention, I think they'll just sit there and wait for me to come and arrest them. Not to mention their martial arts. Many hunters have lost their lives while on duty. Brother, why do you think the Northern Heavenly Alliance offers such a high reward? Because they have many enemies. Bok Vio Tran nodded. I will pay attention. He then excitedly left. This is really interesting. I have to find out. Shimin Ku shouted loudly. Brother Mujin is really going to become a hunter. It's not like that, right? Zhou Ziyan continued. It seems like he has made up his mind. Scene changed to Hidden Image side. This is a mysterious organization that owns high-class assassins. To deal with a candidate who requires us to send our top experts, you confirm, yes. This person is the deputy master of the Hidden Shadow Pavilion, the 9 Robes. Is that Bai Wuxian guy that strong? Did you see it with your own eyes? The other person confirmed very strongly. The deputy captain of the Jianya sword team was defeated without time to do anything. The 9th-ranked man was deep in thought. The Jianya is a 4th-ranked person, right? Then sending 2 2nd-ranked people would be enough. The other person shook his head. I'm afraid that's not enough. When facing Zhang Yingip, he still had not revealed all his martial arts skills. Moreover, the 9-robed man rested his chin on his hand and thought to himself, he meant that he didn't want to reveal this matter regardless of winning or losing, so choosing someone from the Hidden Shadow Pavilion was the right thing to do, but it was also really too troublesome. After thinking for a while, he said, all right, I will send someone, but I won't leak any information. Will it be okay if my people wear masks? You don't need to doubt my ability. Who would dare to doubt me? See you later. Waiting for the other party to leave, the 9-clothed man called out to the corner of the room, Zhang Jian, do you want to try? Seeing that the other party did not respond, he spoke again. That guy named Chuang Qian. The 9-robed man stood up. Just that, yeah, don't you understand the problem? You represent our Hidden Shadow sect. Even if this matter is not revealed to the outside, it will still be reported to the higher-ups, so please act carefully. Chuang Qian sighed. I will just listen to what you say. The 9-robed man waved his hand and exclaimed, why are you so stubborn? Okay, get ready to go. If you lose, I and the owners will be severely affected. You are my most trusted guard. If you lose, then I will really lose all face. Why don't you say anything? Chuang Qian from the out. That Bai Wuxian guy. Do you want me to kill him too? The 9-year-old man waved his hand and smiled. Come on, what dignity would that have? He was just a candidate, Chuang Qian said coldly. So what do you want me to do? 9-robed man sighed. Chuang Qian looked serious. I understand. Then he immediately left to do the mission. The 9-clothed man coldly snorted. The Hidden Shadow Pavilion has to deal with candidates. Bok Vio Tran will definitely not hear that name again in the future. The scene is transferred to the White Void Town. May we have to re-evaluate. Li Yanqing explained. Are you only at the 4th level? The Jiangya that you easily defeated was a 4th level martial artist. Bok Vio Tran suddenly woke up. Is that so? So who is the opponent this time? Li Yanqing replied. I only know that he is a first-class martial artist. I don't know anything else. Don't tell me you're only going to use martial arts to fight this time. They have sent a request to hide the photo. It is said that the warriors of the Hidden Shadows sect are no different from assassins. Bok Vio Tran's face was still calm as if there was no worry at all. This made Ly Dianhan jump up in excitement. I'm even more nervous than you. Suddenly asking for a first-level martial artist, the superior wants to observe your strength to give you appropriate treatment. I agree with this point, so I hope you will understand. Bai Wuxian didn't care much and asked, so if I defeat the first-level martial artist, who will be my next opponent? I feel like I'm being provoked into endless battles. If I defeat a level 1, won't I have to fight someone stronger next? What? Li Yanqing replied. If so, I'm afraid there won't be anyone in the near future. If you defeat a first-level martial artist, the leader will personally look into your matter. We will no longer have authority at that time. The place of the martial arts competition is Long Ho Quan. This is where secret martial arts competitions are held. Bok Vio Chan bowed his head to look at the long sword and secretly sighed. Anything to look forward to. Just go and you will know. The two of them quickly entered inside, where someone was already waiting. The officer turned to the other party and said, Sir, this is Bai Wu Town. The other person interrupted. Let's leave the greetings for later. Former deputy chief, please bring your opponent in. The deputy boss on the side quickly pushed the door open. The crowd that never saw a ghost was confused. What? Not here yet. Only Bok Vio Chan's face wrinkled, as if he sensed something. Chuang Qian turned into a dark shadow that crept throughout the room. After a while, he landed in front of Bok Vio Chan. His figure appeared with extremely fierce eyes staring at Bok Vio Chan. Faced with that expression, Bok Vio Chan remained calm as if nothing had happened, the corner of his mouth still curled into a friendly smile. Both sides were completely visible to the crowd. Li Yanqing was shocked in his heart, appearing silently and unconsciously. He was indeed a first-class assassin, no different from a shadow. Everyone, please accept the introductions. This is a first-level martial artist from the Hidden Shadow Pavilion. Because he is on a mission, it is not convenient for him to reveal his identity as a white warrior, please understand. Bok Vio Tran looked at the person opposite, thinking to himself. Appeared without any warning, the assassin is indeed different. The owners quickly went to the back to make room for the two of them. The result of the match will determine your rank, although the match was arranged suddenly. I hope you will do your best. Bai Wuxian nodded. I am always ready to compete. Secretly in my heart. Snort, how arrogant. The owners said nothing more, waved their hands and called for the start. Ly Dianhan's face showed obvious worry. He couldn't help but speak up. It's a martial arts competition after all. I hope you two don't hurt each other. Chuang Qian nodded, as if he agreed. He then immediately turned into black gas and disappeared again. The owners saw the two people beside them so agitated, so they told them to be quiet. The deputy master secretly thought to himself, what kind of martial art can hide so silently and unconsciously? The owners are also having their own thoughts. This name is really strange. He was not worried, but smiled. What do you mean? Zhang Jian very quickly completely disappeared from Bai Wuxian's sight. He is now hiding at. I will let you understand what is meant by knowing, but not being able to avoid. He quickly left his position again and began to attack. Bok Vio Tran stood there without moving from beginning to end. Chuang Qian did not attack immediately but hid in another corner. He was very confused at this moment. Was he laughing? Are you scared and crazy? White. Chan suddenly raised his hand. This action of his was completely beyond the understanding of the crowd. The whole crowd was stunned. What is he doing? Chuang Qian coldly snorted, not knowing what he was going to do, but let me try. On the palm of Bai Wuxian's hand, several flower petals began to appear. The crowd seeing this scene couldn't help but exclaim. The petals grew more and more, gradually forming countless flowers. Bok Vio Tran waved his hand to let the flowers fall. Very quickly, a dazzling white light was emitted around him. White light spread to the crowd, but nothing happened. This made Chuang Qian think that this was just a useless move. He did not hesitate any longer, quickly jumped out. Little did he know that his seemingly useless move was actually revealing his position. Li Yanqing sighed in his heart. The ground was covered with thin ice, causing the opponent to leave footprints. Hiding had lost its effect. After a while of moving, Chuang Qian finally realized. So you are an ice master, damn it, why didn't you warn me? Right, Bok Vio-chan turned his head to glance at him. The young man was angry and cursed, it was true. Damn it, he quickly jumped up, not moving on the ground anymore. A sword stabbed straight towards Bai Wuxian. Unexpectedly, Bok Vio-chan just gently raised his hand. Chuang Qian's sword was easily caught by him with his bare hands. This made him sweat profusely, using only 2 fingers to block my sword. Cold air quickly spread from Bok Vio-chan's hand, wanting to pass through the sword body. Chuang Qian realized his intention and immediately put his sword away. He turned into a dark shadow and disappeared again. This time the target is behind Bai Wuxian's neck. Seeing him suddenly use his killer move, the crowd immediately tensed up. Stop it. But the unexpected happened. Bok Vio-chan didn't even bother to turn around, but just slightly dodged to avoid this fatal blow. Zhang Jian's continuous failures made him more impatient. He continuously swung his sword countless times, but none of his moves hit the target. Bok Vio-chan's mouth corners were still holding an interested smile. Zhang Jian was attacking when he suddenly slipped. He then took the initiative to step back and stabilize his body. Bok Vio-chan did not miss the opportunity to rush forward. He continuously swung his fists to hit the opponent's head. Chuang Qian avoided his attack and couldn't help but panic. It was just a hand, how could it be so sharp? He could clearly see that Bai Wuxian's hand was now covered in a layer of ice. He did not dare to let the other party touch him and tried to avoid everything. After a while, he found the opportunity to swing his sword up and down. Bok Vio-chan. The reaction was not slow. He raised his sword to block. To block this attack, his long sword was, but not yet completely out of the shell. At this moment, Chuang Qian's face was extremely tense, no longer daring to look down on his opponent. The deputy commander stood to the side watching the battle, mouths agape, remembering Jiang Ye's words. At that time he still did not believe and was very angry. But now he cannot help but believe that Bok Vio-chan is really very strong. No matter how much strength Chuang Qian used, he could not suppress Bok Vio-chan. On the contrary, it was sent flying back by the recoil. His figure once again turned into a black shadow and disappeared. Bok Vio-chan turned around and put away his sword, not intending to continue the pursuit. Chuang Qian's sword-holding arm was trembling slightly. His internal energy was too profound. Just by touching it once, his hand felt like it was about to crack. Hiding was useless. He had no intention of assassinating anymore and calmly walked out. He resolutely swung his sword up and looked straight at his opponent. Want to try my swordplay? Bok Vio-chan did not say much, raised his sword. The long sword was finally drawn from its sheath. Chuang Qian secretly sighed in his heart. This arrogant guy finally drew his sword. Bai Wuxian stood there, looking at the other party with dignity. Come on. Chuang Qian did not say much, gently walked forward. He did not attack immediately but ran around Bok Vio-chan, wanting to distract him. Bok Vio-chan let him do whatever he wanted, still standing there. As soon as the opponent drew his sword, he immediately raised his sword to block. No matter how Chuang Qian attacked, he easily blocked it with his sword. After a while, he seized the opportunity, jumped up and slashed out a sword carrying very strong true energy. Bok Vio-chan still stood there leisurely without any fear. Ly Dian Han could not help but exclaim, too dangerous. Waiting for the sword energy to get close, Bok Vio-chan immediately swung his arms and slashed wildly. Cold air also continuously spreads. In the blink of an eye, a pile of ice crystals appeared from underground. The crowd saw this and were all left with their mouths open. What is iceberg? The sword energy that hit Bok Vio-chan was blocked by the ice wall. He then also jumped up. Long sword stabbed straight at the opponent. It seemed like Chuang Qian could have stopped this move, but no. Bai Vio-chan suddenly turned his hand, causing the long sword to turn as well. Zhang Jian's long sword was immediately knocked out of his hand. He stared at his hand, dumbfounded. This was impossible. The two of them then both landed on the ground at the same time. Bok Vio-chan did not stop. His other hand raised the sword sheath. Immediately after that pounded hard on the opponent's shoulder. Chuang Qian was hit and immediately fell to the ground. No matter how hard he tried, he could not resist the strength of Bok Vio-chan and stand up. He was secretly terrified, as if he was being crushed by a giant iceberg. I really can't move. Okay, Bai Wuxian reminded, I will withdraw my move now. After saying that, he put his sword back in its sheath. Chuang Qian lay on the ground gasping for breath. Bok Vio-chan was satisfied and put his sword away. Chuang Qian, Li Yanqing confirmed in his heart that Bai Wuxian was indeed a monster. On the fighting floor, Bok Vio-chan bent down to help Chuang Qian up. Senior, it seems I have offended you. I am not familiar with the rules, so there will be some formalities. Please understand. Chuang Qian stood up and sighed. I didn't expect that Bok Hu-heap, at such a young age, has already reached this level of cultivation. I lost and was convinced. I am convinced. Bai Wuxian nodded. Thank you, senior. I have learned a lot. Zhuang Qian clasped his hands in response. I should be the one saying that. Witnessing your swordplay really opened my eyes. He then quickly left this place. The masters also came at this time. Sorry, I am following the master's instructions. Bok Vio Tran clasped his hands in greeting and introduced himself. Wu Taiching's attitude had changed at this moment, becoming very polite, welcoming young master Bai to come to the Northern Heavenly Alliance. Scene changed to the side of the Holy Fire Palace. Little Palace Master, where is the Little Palace Master? Can't you see the Little Palace Master? Seeing the other party so hasty, one person nervously replied, It's the Little Palace Master who said he wants to go practice more. The middle-aged man shouted angrily, How many times have I told you, are you going out of the palace to practice again? This brat is causing trouble again. Transition to outside the forest. A group of people riding horses galloping. The people behind ran while worrying, Oh my god, this time the palace lord will kill us. Little Palace Master, what trouble are you causing again? This time the Palace Master will not let it go. The young man coldly snorted, If you stay in the palace forever, how can you become stronger? Only by confronting martial arts masters can one quickly mature. I want to be stronger. When I am stronger, then father will be satisfied. As soon as Bok Vio Tran returned, two other Westerners ran over and asked curiously, What happened? Where did you just come from? Bok Vio Tran felt very troubled inside. They told me not to say anything. What should I do now? Seeing him standing there in a daze, the two continued to try to ask, Quickly tell me, how dare the official suddenly call you? Bai Wuxian scratched his head and smiled, It's nothing, I just have a few things to tell you. The other Shiman coldly snorted, Are you trying to trick me? Is this a secret competition? No. Bok Vio Tran was stunned when he saw that he had actually guessed it. The two of them continued to coax, We are so close, why do you have to hide it from us? We are both very secretive, so you can rest assured and tell us. Bai Wuxian was puzzled. Do I look suspicious? Another Westerner explained, Let me show you. Your rich nose is wet, it's not raining, so it can be inferred that you used ice technique. More, let me continue. Your face lit up and turned a little red. It was the same last time you fought me. Your pale face suddenly lit up with color. This time it will definitely be the same. Don't you realize, after every competition, you feel excited, that's why your expression changes. Anyone who looks at it can see it clearly, it's your innate trait. Bai Wuxian opened his eyes wide. Innate. He had no way to hide it anymore, he could only admit it. That's right, I participated in a secret competition, but I'm not allowed to reveal the results or the contents to anyone. The other Shiman sighed, What a pity. I worked hard to get this for you. He then took out an envelope. Here is a list of the villains in this area. If we catch them all we will make a lot of money. Bai Wuxian immediately got excited, he moved his face closer to observe. The other Westerner immediately put it away and laughed loudly, This thing is hard to find, if you want it then tell me quickly. Beyond his expectations, Bok Vio Chan bowed his head in thanks. Thank you, Taemon brother, I've remembered everything. Bok Vio Tran then went somewhere alone. He stood there with his eyes closed, concentrating. In my head, I remembered the conversation I had with the two other Westerners. I thought I hid my emotions well, but I didn't expect them to be so easily recognized. He reached out and drew his sword. Next time we must be more careful. What if one day we are surrounded by a large number of enemies? What if among the onlookers there is someone who secretly acts, or if there is an ambush, what will happen behind the scenes? I will recall the last match and add some details to consider. He swung his sword and slashed out a strike carrying a cold chill. The direction of the cold air is near the entrance. While practicing swordplay, he suddenly startled, because Ly Dian Han just happened to come in at this time. He was startled by his sword energy and was stunned on the spot. Bai Wuxian hurriedly put away his sword and ran over to ask in a panic, Are you okay? The old man waved his hand, It's okay. Sorry to bother you, but I have urgent business. Bai Wuxian's face was filled with anticipation, another competition. The old man denied it, We must go see the leader. He was then led to the leader. I pay my respects to the leader, I am Bok Vio Tran. The leader smiled in return, Nice to meet you, I'm O Duong Ho. Bai Wuxian secretly evaluated in his heart, his eyes were profound, his aura was strong. He was truly a hero. Yang, who stroked his beard, looked at him and asked, I heard you defeated Zhang Jian. Bai Wuxian did not deny it. Yes, it was just luck. Duong Ho was surprised. Zhuang Qian was a top expert but still lost to you. You are truly an extraordinary person. I didn't expect the Bok family to have an expert like you. Your reason for joining the Northern Heaven Alliance is also very special. Do you really just want to make money? Ly Dian Han secretly sighed in his heart. I told them to stop talking about this with the leader, but maybe the leader will be upset. Bai Wuxian did not hide anything and honestly explained, After the previous patriarch passed away, my family had declined a lot, so I had to shoulder all the blame. I am the patriarch, so of course I have the responsibility to earn money to maintain the family. I hope the leader will understand. Oh Duong-ho heard this and his mouth was wide open. Patriarch, are you the patriarch of the Bok family in Tuet-san? Ly Dian Han was also stunned by these words. Oh Duong-ho questioned him, Supervisor, why did you ignore such an important matter? Ly Dian Han hurriedly explained, Please forgive me, my lord, I did not expect the head of the Bok family to come and apply for the position. Oh Duong-ho asked Bok Vio Tran again, does that mean you are now willing to put aside your position as family head and become a martial artist of Bactn Min? Bok Vio Tran calmly replied, It's okay, it's my choice, so don't worry about it, leader. Oh Duong-ho nodded, okay then. I heard you practice ice martial arts. Bok Vio Tran asked again, is there a problem with that? Oh Duong-ho waved his hand, it's okay. As long as you are loyal to me, any martial art is fine, but I am really curious about your work. So do you want to continue proving your ability? Bai Wuxian replied, there is no need to compete any further. If possible I want to be a knight to prove my ability, is that okay? Oh Duong-ho suddenly fell into deep thought. Li Yanqing from behind reminded, White Warrior, now is not the time, the knight must be promoted and must wait for the right time. At this moment, Oh Duong-ho burst out laughing. I agree, recently, the evil people are also causing trouble everywhere, no one is willing to do it. That, you came at the right time. Bok Vio Tran bowed, thank you sir. But I only give you 5 days, in 5 days you have to catch all of them. If so, I will acknowledge your strength. Beyond his expectation, Bok Vio Chan held up 3 fingers. Just 3 days, we will finish. A moment later in the leader's room, the leader called his subordinates. Execution Master, you must be investigating the Bai family in Snow Mountain, right? Wu Taicheng confirmed, yes, I think this is necessary. Oh Duong-ho agreed, yes, this is his duty. But stop investigating. After meeting Bok Vio Chan, I see that it is no longer necessary. I want to keep him by my side. If I investigate my subordinates behind my back, I will feel uncomfortable. Just remember that traitors to the Northern Heavenly Alliance will not be forgiven. On the contrary, if he is loyal, I will trust him with all my heart. With such a talent, I also want to let him be an example. His martial arts are profound and his personality is calm. Vu Taicheng is suspicious, so what does the leader want his subordinate to do? Oh Duong-ho solemnly registered Bok Vio Tran as a first-class martial artist. Vu Taicheng was startled. First level. Normally, first level requires time to be considered, or should he enter second level first and then be promoted later? Yang Hu snapped, the one who defeated the first level was assigned to the second level. Don't you think it's ridiculous? If others find out, how will they look at our Bei Tianming? Wu Taicheng then resigned himself and left. Oh Duong-ho looked out the window. Bok Vio Tran, with him here, it will probably be very interesting in the future. The scene changed to another side. The other 2 Westerners stood there dumbfounded, not understanding what was going on. Bai Wuxian ran in front and shouted loudly, hurry up or it will be too late. The other Shiman shouted in annoyance, why do we have to be knights too? We don't need money. Bok Vio Tran did not care, but was very much looking forward to it. It was time for real battle. He quickly ran to the city gate. Let's go together. It's all thanks to Shiman brother.
Very soon the sky was light. A person hurriedly ran towards the group of people from Baiwu town. 11 men cat immortal hero, I saw him. He held up a notice and hurriedly pointed into the distance. He happened to be causing a ruckus in the tavern. Chu Tu Van raised his thumb in approval. It's true that famous families are really quick to gather information. Taemon Kok praised the subordinate. Good job, I'll reward you when you're done. You, Bok Vio Tran was agitated. Hurry up and catch him. He then quickly wanted to hit the road. Seeing the other 2 Westerners standing there, he couldn't help but stop and ask suspiciously, why haven't you left yet? Shiman replied, being a knight is your business, I'm afraid of things like this, we'll wait here, so you take care of it yourself. Bok Vio Tran also did not force a smile. Okay, then I'm going. He then ran away excitedly again. He then covered his face, revealing only his eyes. Shiman Ku was satisfied, must hide identity like this, if it is exposed, the rest will all run away. Bai Wuxian ran inside again, I'll be right back. Chu Ziyun turned to 11 men and asked, are you worried about him? 11 men. Kuyu's face was expressionless, why should I worry? The temple is in chaos right now. The counter-manager and the waiter were hugging each other and screaming in fear. The evil man held a bowl of disgusting mixed noodles in his hand and questioned. Look what this is, you dare put this in my light master's food. The crowd felt very wronged inside, it was obvious that he had brought it on himself. He then threw the bowl at the crowd. I'm so angry right now. I have to destroy this thing to relieve my anger, old man. I couldn't hold it in any longer and rushed forward, screaming until my blood ran dry, you hateful black magician, you're only good at bullying the weak, you're truly despicable. The light master angrily raised his axe. Is this old man crazy? Let me show him. But before he could make a move, his body involuntarily flew off the ground. Immediately fell face down on the floor. The floor was now covered with a layer of ice and was very slippery. The light master looked up and saw Bok Vo Chan there. Bok Vo Tran asked him, "Are you okay? Your nose is bleeding." The bloody light master asked in confusion, "Who are you? How dare you mock me?" After saying that, he swung his spear and slashed towards Bai Wuxian's head. Outside the village, 2 other Westerners were still standing there waiting. Chu Tu-ven worried, "It will be okay, right?" Shiman carved face full of worry. "Brother Mujin, wait for me, let's go." But when the 2 of them arrived at the tavern, what they saw was the frozen body of the light master. Bai Wuxian said to them, "We caught it. Both of you were gaping. Did you freeze him?" Bok Vo Tran explained, "I just made him immobile for a bit, hee." After saying that, he threw the opponent to the ground. 11 more and we go quickly. Let's go on. The next one is from the next village, Brother Shiman. It seems our worries were for nothing. A little later in the next village, that guy you think can catch me. As soon as he finished speaking, he froze. A moment later at a nearby place, watch my move. Another guy was frozen before he could do anything. In just a short time, Bok Vo Chan had captured 4 of them. The young intelligence officer ran over again. Young Master Shiman found him. Bok Vo Tran immediately ran over. "I'm coming right away." The other 2 Westerners had helpless looks on their faces. Wasn't he tired? Was he planning to capture everyone before resting? A gangster holding something in his hand shouted loudly, "Who are you? Tell me your name." Bok Vo Tran on the opposite side scratched his head, hesitating, not knowing how to respond. "I can't reveal my identity, so please forgive me, you just need to know that I'm a knight, hee." The other person sneered and threw the thing in his hand away. "In short, you're a naughty brat." In front of Bok Vo Chan, black smoke immediately covered everything, making it impossible to see anything. The person hiding within the smoke and dust provoked, "That half-baked hunter, if you're so good, then catch me and see." White dust frown, fog. "I don't know if it's possible." He then raised his hand to stimulate the cold air. The young man on the other end of the smoke was smug. "You fool, don't even think about catching me." But very quickly he suddenly realized something. The mist around his body was actually condensing. He was momentarily frozen and unable to move. Bai Wuxian was also quite surprised. He actually caught this. The group of gangsters who were destroying villages and towns were almost all captured by Bok Vo Tran and gathered together in one place. 11 names, only 1 more to go. Another Westerner reminded, "This last guy is not an ordinary guy. He is a true black magic expert. His strength far surpasses those who were just captured. I heard he also brought dozens of trusted followers with him." Bok Vo Tran pointed to the distance. "Why don't we rest today? Tomorrow I'll go catch him." "Oh my god, Brother Mujin doesn't know what rest is. There's still 1 day left. Let's rest a bit and then go catch him. It's not too late." The next day, the 3 of them went to the evil person. Looking at the devastated scene here, Taemon Kok couldn't help but sigh. The villages around here were completely destroyed by him. It was really too much. The voice of the young intelligence officer also rang out at this time. "Young master, I found them. I heard they are in that forest over there." Going to the outside of the forest, Bok Vo Chan fearlessly walked in. "I'm going in." Shiman Ku went to stop him. Wait, didn't I say there were a lot of them? No matter how powerful Brother Mujin is, he can't deal with so many enemies. "Let us go with you." The 2 then carried their weapons and stepped forward. Bok Vo Tran stood there, feeling very confused. "I can go alone." "Never mind, the more the merrier." Deep in the forest a long sword was emitting blazing flames. The young man standing before the sword was sweating profusely, begging for forgiveness. "Please forgive me." The person holding the sword pointed at his face was a red-haired woman. The 3 people by Wuxian had just entered the forest when they heard a miserable scream. They did not dare to delay any longer and hastily increased their speed and rushed away. When he arrived, he saw that the dark forces had all been defeated and were lying everywhere. The other Westgate and Zhou Ziyan quickly went to check. "These gangsters were attacked. I don't see that guy anywhere. What happened? It's strange, the surroundings are scorched. These people are also badly burned." "It was like an explosion." The other Westgate frowned. "I didn't hear any explosion, and even if there was an explosion, it couldn't have caused this much damage." Bok Vo Tran frowned and looked into the distance, thinking that there was something emitting a very intense fire. Very quickly there was a fire there. 3 people quickly rushed towards that side. "Go!" Bok Vo Tran accelerated past the 2 people. "He is a great master." On this side, the dark guy was currently lying on the ground rolling around and groaning in pain. The disappointed woman sighed. I heard you were a master of the underworld, but it turns out you're nothing. The young man's half-face was still on fire, there was no way to put it out. It's too hot, it's burning me to death. The people walking with the woman suddenly turned their heads to look beside them. The direction they looked was where the group of people from Baiwuzhen were running towards. One of them went to report to the woman, someone was coming. The woman glanced over suspiciously. The 3 people from Bok Vo town had also arrived at this time. He and the woman looked at each other. Recognizing that they were knights, the group quickly left. Bok Vo Tran ran to the place of that black guy. He put his hand on the other person's face, using cold air to help him calm the fire. The 3 women were now on horseback. Before leaving, she did not forget to speak up. This bunch of knights. There, I give that name to you. After saying that, he quickly urged his horse to leave. Bok Vo Tran stood there looking at their backs without saying anything. He reached out and took off his mask. The corner of his mouth was now curled into a smile. Looks like we'll see each other again. The next day at the north of the sky. Oh, Duong Ho laughed so hard he couldn't close his mouth. I recognize your talent. I didn't expect you to freeze them all and drag them back here. I have prepared the money and sent it to the Bok family, so you don't need to worry. He then placed the chessboard on the table. Play a game with me. I learned the basics from the former leader, and like you, I have no interest in Go. But one day, he explained to me the 10 strategies of Go. White Void Town Doubt, 10 decisions. Oh, Duong Ho explained, those are the 10 rules when playing Go. It is said that these are the rules set by Go Master Vong Dike then, and the previous leader also used them as the rules of conduct in the martial arts world. Its content is simply as follows: when attacking, look at yourself first. Don't be greedy for victory. The stronger the opponent, the more careful you have to be. The rule is simple but profound like that. The previous leader told me that these are things that people in the martial arts world need to keep in mind. Playing chess is like practicing martial arts. People often repeat mistakes, cling to previous choices and then fall into familiar failures. Baiwuzhen agreed, it makes sense. Ouyang Hu asked again, do you know what is so scary about the 10 commandments? Baiwuzhen was stunned, I don't understand. Oh, Duong Ho solemnly said, that is what everyone thinks, it is so easy to understand. This leader position is not easy to sit on. The previous leader and I were both like that. Still the same now. Remember this, knowing your opponent is strong but not being careful will result in the same fate as them. At this time, in the distance, there was also a group of people walking this way. Bok Vo Tran stood up in surprise and looked. This group of people all look very domineering, it seems like a good fighting army. Bok Vo Tran went to O Duong Ho's side and asked, is there any master in the 10 decisions who is not in trouble? O Duong Ho asked back, what, do you think it's too crowded? Bok Vo Tran confirmed, that's right. Could it be that you already expected it? O Duong Ho replied without any hesitation. This chess game was arranged by me. He then drew his sword. You have shown your strength. So I should also show you my strength. The old man leading the crowd shouted loudly, is the captain of the guard still well? O Duong Ho also laughed loudly in response, Elder Don Mok, I knew it would be you, but you brought too many people. He softly explained to Bok Vo Tran, I used to be a martial arts bodyguard. The old man shouted again, you've become the leader, you're really powerful, since when did you dare to talk to me in that tone? Another person also spoke up, all the way here, no one stopped us, are you really the leader of the Northern Heavenly Alliance? O Duong Ho proudly pointed at himself, idiot, I'm not allowed to stop you guys, look, go to the back. You are blocked from retreating. The crowd saw that and were all bewildered. O Duong Ho smiled smugly, even more delighted, Elder Don Mok knew me clearly and still fell into the trap. The old man reached out to grab the banana sword, of course I had expected it. He immediately drew his sword. The crowd behind did the same. Ouyang Hu explained, they are swordsmen of the Duanmu sword family. Bok Vo Tran was a bit nervous, there are too many of them, leader. O Duong Ho told him to just stand there and watch. Bok Vo Tran was confused, you just said that you shouldn't be greedy to win. Are you going to kill them all? O Duong Ho laughed coldly, so what? Bok Vo Tran suggested. Can I keep some people? Let's recruit them. Judging by the attitude of some of them, it can be seen that they are being forced, so there is no need to kill them all. Master, please allow me to say a few words to them. O Duong Ho just gave permission and immediately shouted, those who were forced here, stand still, I will give you a way to live. I know you came here on orders from your superiors. Don't lose your life because of that. The old man gritted his teeth in anger, that white-faced guy. Standing in front of so many people and saying that, is he crazy? He is a peerless master. Thinking for a long time without any results, he immediately led the group of people carrying swords and charging forward. No need for more words, everyone charge forward for me. Oh Duong-ho sighed, it seems that there are quite a few people who made the wrong decision, you just stand there and wait. As soon as he finished speaking, the white-footed creature disappeared from the spot. He ignored him and rushed straight towards the crowd. Ouyang, whose face was full of helplessness, TSK, I told you to just stand and watch. Bok Vo Tran stared at the crowd analyzing the situation. The leader is that old man and the two guys beside him, if we can control them, the situation will change. He quickly landed on the ground in front of the crowd, the cold air continuously radiating from his body. He put his hand on the ground. Immediately the three old men had their legs sealed by ice. The crowd immediately panicked, it's ice. Why? Bok Vo Tran frowned in thought, using ice to hold their legs to avoid unnecessary killing. The old man shouted angrily, don't block my way. He then swung his sword and cut through the ice. Then jump into the air. His target is the tiger, watch my sword moves. Oh Duong-ho coldly laughed, urging his true energy, his martial arts were still very domineering. He then spun himself around on the spot. His body was immediately surrounded by a stream of fire and black smoke. Very quickly he swung his sword and chopped out. Sword energy carrying fierce flames broke through the air. The old man who was rushing over immediately tensed up and gritted his teeth to block it. The remaining sword energy slashed towards the crowd below. The two young men and their henchmen immediately sank into a sea of blood, a sky-filling scream also rang out. Bok Vo Tran looked at the bloody scene before him and couldn't help but freeze. The rest of the people saw this and were so scared that they couldn't help but retreat. Bok Vo Tran once again loudly advised, everyone stop quickly, don't try to resist anymore, it's just wasting your lives in vain. Put down your weapons and stop immediately. At this moment, a guy behind him who was still alive suddenly swung his sword and stabbed forward, wanting to sneak attack Mujin. But before he could succeed, the ice rose up and took his life. Even Bok Vo Chan was startled by this. He turned his head to look back, observing the pile of ice crystals that had taken the other party's life. He did not do it on purpose, it happened unconsciously. The rest of the people were all scared out of their wits and turned around to run away. At this moment, the tiger jumped down from above, blocking their way back. His body was now covered in fresh blood. His face was extremely ferocious, like a ferocious beast staring at them. The whole crowd was frightened by his appearance and expression. He then raised the head of the old leader. The whole crowd stood there with their mouths open. He threw the skull in front of them, and they all knelt down and begged for their lives. The army of the Northern Heavenly Alliance had also rushed in from outside at this time. Oh Duong-ho ordered, today is enough, no need to kill anymore, capture the remaining people. Hunt down the wood and deal with it according to the law. Bok Vo Tran stood there with his head bowed sadly. Oh Duong-ho walked over, patted his shoulder and laughed loudly, come on, let's go drink. In his mind, he was still remembering the other person's face before he died. He cannot be happy. His hands clenched into fists, his expression clearly confused, this is my first time killing someone. The two of them just like that headed back towards the city. It was dark, Bok Vo Chan returned to his room. His clothes were now stained with fresh blood. He took off his bloody clothes to reveal his six-pack muscles. He looked at the clothes in his hand and couldn't help but recall that moment in his mind. Tried to save people, but ended up killing people. He resolutely threw his clothes aside, while being suddenly attacked by a martial art that even I didn't know was used. It turns out that I still haven't completely mastered the family's martial arts. Ouyang who, if I hadn't rushed forward at that time, he would have killed everyone. Looking at his martial arts, he definitely wouldn't have killed everyone one by one, he probably only needed to release a few sword energies to kill all of those people. His martial arts were truly superb, the more he thought about it, the more tired he felt and collapsed. Bed, maybe a little rest will feel better. But very quickly he sat up again. His face was still filled with sadness. He then went to find two other Westerners to drink. What happened? I asked the people in charge but they don't know either. Bai Wuzhen nodded, yes. Shiman Ko looked at him with interest. Brother Mujin was also present at the main hall, so he must know very well. Bok Vo Tran asked again, Brother Taemon, do you know the Don Mok sword family? Shiman replied, that is a family that specializes in swords, the head of that family is Duan Muping, he is an outstanding swordsman. They do not fight for the throne, but they participate in business in many fields, so they are very famous. It is said that they often fight to the death with dark forces. Bai Wuzhen was puzzled, isn't the person named Duanmu Xian the head of the family? 11 men was stunned, Duanmu Xian, who is that person? Bai Wuzhen explained, he is one of the elders of the Northern Heavenly Alliance, and is said to come from the Duanmu sword family. The west gate carved on the ceiling was full of confusion, the owner of the Duanmu Ping family is a young owner in his early 30s, this is the first time I've heard of the name Duanmu Xian, perhaps he's not a direct descendant. Bai Wuchen was stunned, unable to understand, and in the end could only say everything. Actually, the person named Don Mok Hien attacked the backyard where the leader was staying. The other Westgate people immediately got excited. What? Why is the leader so silent? Bok Vo Tran continued to speak briefly, then leader O Duong Ho calmed everything down. Chu Tu Van was stunned. Leader, did you see it with your own eyes? Bok Vo Tran asked again. What do you want to ask? Taemon was urgent, it was that domineering realm. Bok Vo Tran's face was very serious and strong, although he still reserved his strength, he easily suppressed all the traitors. The other two Westerners looked at each other with their mouths wide open. He then excitedly exclaimed, joining the Northern Heaven Alliance was indeed the right decision, it seems like a lot of interesting things will happen, our Western clan is too quiet. Bai Wuxian asked again, have you ever killed anyone, Shiman? Shiman Ku calmly replied, once you step into the martial arts world, of course you have killed. Why do you suddenly ask that? Have you never killed anyone? Bai Wuxian nodded, yes. The other Westgates suddenly woke up, so that's why you invited us to drink. Huh, you only have strong martial arts but you are still very immature, let me buy you a drink. Chu Tu Van also spoke up, there is always a first time for everything. The two of them then argued, are you drunk, what nonsense are you talking about, it's the first time, that's why it's called the first time, that's what I meant, Bok Vo Tran sat there with a sad expression on his face. Another Westerner came over and patted his shoulder to comfort him, I'm sure you'll get used to it soon, don't worry about it anymore, just smile, because you survived an attack by traitors. Welcome to become a true warrior. Bok Vo Tran smiled and nodded. He then stood up and clasped his hands, from now on, feel free to address me as brother and sister, are you two really stupid? Shiman Ku was even more excited and burst out laughing, you're really stubborn, you only act like that when you're drunk, then from now on, I'll call you Bek Sien Di. Okay, Bok Vo Tran nodded, just like that, I'm only proficient in martial arts, I don't know anything else, so I really hope to receive guidance from you guys. The other Westgate was pleased, I'm only weaker than you in martial arts, but I know everything better than you, so learn well. The next day, outside the Northern Heavenly Martial Arts Arena, the leader sat on the platform and waved his hand to order his subordinates to execute him. The crowd immediately raised their axes. Up, all the skulls of the rebels were immediately chopped off. Bok Vo Tran was also present, he did not dare to look at this scene, he could only close his eyes tightly. O Yu Yang who then loudly ordered, the sword fighting team and the demon extermination team will now be under the command of the captains to attack the Duanmu sword family. No matter the reason, don't let anyone survive, just kill them all and come back. The crowd all responded with enthusiasm and accepted their fate. A few people quietly discussed, Duanmu Jianjia is not a dark force, doing this without any investigation is really a bit inappropriate. O Yu Yang who once again raised his voice, the branch leaders of Dong Tian and 11 Guang are suspected of accepting bribes, they have been summoned many times, but they always make excuses of being busy with work, for more than 100 days, they have not appeared, therefore, I will send a supervisor to check the situation of the branch and escort the branch leaders back to headquarters. First-class martial artist, Li Chengnan heard the order, you are appointed as the supervisor in charge of the Eastern Heaven branch, summon the necessary military force to escort the leader of the Eastern Heaven branch here, if he dares to resist, just kill him. The male judge loudly replied, your subordinate has received your orders. O Duong Ho continues to be a first-class martial artist, but he has no town. Bok Vo Tran was absent-mindedly standing below, not paying attention for a moment. It was not until he called again a second time that he suddenly came to his senses and replied, I have a subordinate letter to the leader. O Yang who glanced at him, you are appointed as the supervisor in charge of the Shiguang branch, discuss with the executive sect master to select people and leave before the afternoon. Your duty is the same as the male agent, if the other party refuses to be escorted, you can be beheaded on the spot. Bok Vo Tran had no opinion and clasped his hands to accept the order. O Duong Ho continued to look at the people below, the remaining teams, prepare your weapons and be ready to depart at any time. We will attack the Iron Blood Gang. The crowd said in unison, we accept your fate. The managers behind were all shocked, why are they suddenly attacking the Iron Blood Gang, did I hear wrong, be quiet, they are a dark gang and we have to fight them anyway. Ly Dien Han frowned in thought, the strongest enemy force against Bac Tien Min was Thiat Huyet Bang. The leader of the Iron Blood Gang is Guan Min Kong, he is very famous in the underworld, his nickname is Blood Wind Great Furor, he is so powerful that people say that Guanmin Kong is also the Iron Blood Gang. Regardless of strength or power, they are not inferior to us at all. The question is, can the leader defeat Quan Man Kang now? Bai Wuzhen then went to Wu Tai Cheng's place. You said you were escorting him, but in reality you were going to kill him, right? The old man replied. He knew clearly that returning to the northern heavenly realm would only have one outcome. This matter was more dangerous than you think. Bok Vo Tran replied, first, I will try to carry out the escort mission. Continue the journey, I will choose 10 elites to go with you. Bok Vo Tran shook his head. The more people there were, the more difficult it would be. If only one person could go together it would be better. Vu Tai Trin was surprised, going to take Quang branch with only one person. Bok Vo Tran smiled and confirmed. A moment later, on the other side of the west gate, the young man gaped in disbelief. What? Bai Wuzhen reminded, Brother Shiman, quickly prepare, I have accepted the supervisor's mission and you are the deputy supervisor. The other Shiman questioned, why me? Bok Vo Tran calmly replied, I just said it. Tai Mon Kok shouted indignantly, why, what reason is there, why make someone like me who is resting well have to go to work? What's the point except trouble, danger, and fatigue? Although he didn't want to, he couldn't disobey orders, and in the end, he still had to follow Bok Vo Chan. Bai Wuzhen's heart was filled with determination. This was my first mission as a senior member of the Northern Heavenly Alliance. It's not easy, but we must return successfully. 3 days later at the West Light Branch, I am the deputy branch leader of the West Light Branch. Trin Nan Heap, what business do you have here? Bok Vo Tran asked again, where is the leader? Trin Nan Heap replied, you mean the branch minister, he is absent right now. Are you from the headquarters? We haven't received any notice. Tai Mon was confused. If he was absent, there must be a place where he went. Trin Nan Heap clearly doesn't want to say it. If there's anything, just tell me. When he's absent, I'm the one responsible. Bok Vo Tran shook his head. This matter has nothing to do with you. Just then, another group of people ran in from outside. What's going on? Are you guys from the headquarters? They quickly surrounded the two people in Bok Vo Town. The other west gate was tense. The atmosphere seemed a bit strange. Bok Vo Tran is still very calm. It's still early and the leader is absent, and he didn't tell us where he went. Is this the answer from Tai Quang branch? The crowd responded, did you just say branch leader? Trin Nan Heap interrupted, be quiet, this is the messenger sent by the leader. Bai Wuzhen continued, if you don't tell us, we'll find it ourselves. Trin Nan Heap hurriedly waved his hand to stop, no, we will go find and report back. What are you guys standing there for? Bok Vo Tran then went to the table and sat down. Tai Mon brother sat down, drank tea and waited. Shiman Ku nervously sat down next to him. You can still drink tea at this hour, I'm so nervous. On the other side, the minister of the West Light Branch, Feng Weishue, was startled after hearing his subordinate's report. Was the leader sent here? Did he clearly state his purpose for coming here? Trin Nan Heap shook his head. He asked to see you before he said anything. Fong Dui Hawk was nervous. That's bad news. Okay, I'll go see him. He was about to leave when the person sitting opposite suddenly called out. Minister Fong Chi, if it's a job, you have to do it clearly. You've decided to leave BAC Tianmin. Our gang leader will arrange your position, as well as all the brothers in the branch. We will even add more troops for you. Furthermore, if you come under our guild leader's command, you won't have to worry about being called for these trivial matters. You can't hesitate forever. Having said that, he slammed the knife down on the table. If you need to draw your sword, wouldn't it be more convenient for me to do it? Just pretend you don't know and it'll be done. You take me with you, even though we are not officially family yet, this time we have to end everything. Minister Fong Chi, if you let yourself be escorted back, the lightest punishment will be a suspended sentence. Our Iron Blood Gang will definitely protect you, so don't worry about anything. Fong Dui Hawk cursed in his heart, bastard, now I realize it was him who revealed that I took bribes. I fell into their trap. Two people were drinking tea and chatting inside when they were startled. The big man came in loudly and walked a long way. It was tiring. It was nice to meet you all. We have arrived. Greetings, first-class martial artists of the Northern Heavenly Alliance. Bai Wuzhen wondered, who is this branch chief? Feng Dui Hawk did not know how to respond for a moment, so he could only keep silent. His face immediately wrinkled. You ask who I am. As he spoke, he rushed towards the two of them. You don't need to know what to do. He did not hesitate and charged straight towards Bok Vo Town. The stress of studying made me sweat like rain. He laughed proudly, haha, my head will fly, little brother. But very quickly, the smile on his face was gone. Because his blade was actually blocked by Bok Vo Chan using 2 fingers. He coldly looked at the other person and asked, are you a gangster? He shouted in horror, "Who are you?" Bok Vo Tran laughed coldly, "You made the first move and then asked who I am." The big man's arm holding the knife started to tremble a little, the power was so terrifying that I couldn't move. His other arm quickly took out another knife. Immediately raised his sword and continued to attack. The cold air from Bok Vo Tran's body at this moment followed his arm and covered the opponent's entire greatsword. The ice on his arm made him scream in pain. Feng Shui panicked and stammered, "What martial art is that?" His subordinates were also all made to do it. Stupid, the big man's second sword was now approaching Bok Vo Tran's face. The distance is getting closer and closer. At this moment, another Westgate came over waving his fan. His face was extremely gloomy, he raised his iron fan high. Immediately after that, he resolutely threw it straight at the opponent's head. This knock directly caused his head to concave into the shape of a fan. He was beaten to death right there. Bok Vo Tran was shocked. Brother Taemon beat him to death. Taemon Kok calmly replied, "These black thieves only wake up when they are beaten." Unfortunately this guy died before he could wake up. Bok Vo Tran looked towards Fong Due Hoc, Minister Fong Chi, "Who is this person?" Fong Due Hoc did not hide his answer, "He is Mak Tu Kwong." Shiman carved asked his sect again. Stuttering philosophy. Bai Wuzhen spoke again, "Chief of the 11 Guang branch, by order of the leader, I will escort you back to the headquarters. I was ordered to behead you if you resist." His subordinates immediately became excited. Fong Due Hoc raised his hand to stop them, "I have seen your martial arts, how can I resist you? Trin Nan Heap, please send a letter to the headquarters, report that the Iron Blood Gang has reached out to the Tai Kwang branch and request reinforcements. I will go with these two to the headquarters." Trin Nan Heap was sweating profusely, "Come with me, I will explain the situation, if you go alone, you will die." Fong Due Hoc shook his head, "No, Deputy Minister, stay here, I will follow orders to accept my punishment. According to Mak Tu Kwong. Punishment, Bai Wuzhen nodded, "I will not punish you, I believe that you will not do anything unnecessary." Fong Due Hoc bowed, "Please help me, that is the way to help me survive and help the Tai Kwang branch survive." The three of them then quickly set off that same night. The two people, Bok Vo Tran, used their body techniques to move, while Fong Due learned to ride a horse. He ran and thought as he ran. These dark people immediately took action whenever they had the chance. The battle just now appeared in his mind. Okay, learned something else today. He was running when he suddenly realized something. The other two Shiman were now exhausted and stopped, unable to move any further. He hurriedly turned back to ask, "Brother Shiman, are you okay?" Shiman Ku gasped, "Just rest for a bit." The scene changed to the west of the Kwang branch, and the people there had all been killed. Someone is examining the body, there are traces of blunt weapons. He then turned his head to look at the corner of the house. Truong Nan Heap is the name of the white dress. The scene changes to a roadside inn. The other two Westerners were now in the bedroom, sleeping like dead. Bai Wuzhen poked his head in to see the reasoning. If he was alone, this schedule wouldn't need any rest. But because there are other people, there is no need to try too hard. He then quietly closed the door for the two of them to rest and go downstairs to drink. He secretly judged the people present, all of them were just inferiors. Only one person is superior, most are inferior. I thought that in a crowded place like this there would be some interesting martial arts matches. Just at this moment, the main door was pushed open again. The big man at this time entered from the West Light branch. I kept looking left and right around the bar. Bok Vo Tran immediately realized at first glance that he was not a low-ranking person. His eyes quickly fell on him. He then ordered the waiter to bring wine to Bok Vo Tran. I myself went to pull out the chair. "If you don't have a companion, let's talk a bit." Bok Vo Tran did not refuse but nodded for him to sit down. Two people sitting face to face. The young man asked again, "Do you have a companion?" Bok Vo Tran shook his head, "No." The young man took the initiative to clasp his hands and introduce himself. "I am Ban Chao Vin of the Van Sun sect." Bok Vo Tran also clasped his hands in return. "I am Bok Vo Tran." The young man asked again, "What is your sect?" Bai Wuzhen did not hide it. It was the Snow Mountain by family. Ban Garong was filled with doubt. Snow Mountain, where is that place? Could it be this guy? If he uses an iron fan, then it can be confirmed. After thinking for a moment, he spoke again. "The thing I ordered is almost here. I'm so thirsty, Brother Mujin, can I have a cup of wine to sweeten my throat first?" Bok Vo Tran did not say much, immediately poured him a cup. Ban Chao Vin drank it all in one gulp without any courtesy. "The wine is very good. This time let me pour you a cup." Bok Vo Tran said nothing, raised his hand and gave him the bottle of wine. Ban Chao Vin frowned, thinking to himself, "Let's test it out a bit." Thinking of this, he immediately reached out and grabbed Bok Vo Chan's wrist. This made Bok Vo Chan and the waiter very surprised. The waiter stood still, not daring to go forward for a moment. Ban Chao Vin secretly thought to try to transmit internal energy to see. Bai Wuxian calmly asked, "What are you doing?" Ban Chao Vin coldly snorted, immediately activating his internal energy. But the unexpected happened. His internal energy was unable to penetrate, but instead was pushed back. Bai Wuxian's face wrinkled. "Are you going to try?" He then reached out and grabbed the other person's hand. The young man whose hand he held immediately cried out in pain for his father and mother. The wine bottle in his hand also fell and broke. The water inside was immediately turned into ice crystals by the cold air. Bok Vo Chan also began to stimulate the cold air to invade his arm. "You are like that Mak Tu Kwang, you really don't know what's good for you. What is your relationship with Mak Tu Kwang? Are you also from the Iron Blood Gang?" The ice made the young man so painful that he was momentarily speechless. He put his other hand on his lower hip. "I will kill him with my sword in one move." He then shouted loudly and swung his sword away. The sword light aimed straight at the white head of the town and struck. The young man was pleased. "Haha, very good, I knocked his head off." Unexpectedly, his sword was caught by Bok Vo Tran with both hands. Bai Wuxian's face was fierce, he shouted the word death, then immediately raised his hand to counterattack. Fresh blood and ice crystals instantly ignited. Ban Chao Vin's body was now split into two by the ice crystals, standing there. At the same time, a group of people rushed in from outside. "Sir, Ban Chao Vin has been attacked, brothers, quickly charge." Bok Vo Tran coldly looked at the crowd. "I knew it wasn't just him. Okay, come here. Go." At this moment, another flame appeared blocking the two sides. Followed by a slightly angry voice, "What's all the noise about?" Bok Vo Tran suspiciously turned his head to look. The woman he met in the woods the other day was yawning as she came down from upstairs. "It's been a long time since I've had a peaceful rest, who the hell is causing this chaos?" The crowd saw the flaming sword and the flames on the floor and couldn't help but sweat. The cold woman threatened, "I warn you in advance, if you are not a master, it is best to run away." All the people present in the restaurant were stunned by her appearance. The woman did not care, still calmly smiled and raised her sword. Bok Vo Tran stood beside her, looking at her pensively, not knowing what he was thinking. The crowd in front was now starting to get a little excited. "Captain, perhaps we should retreat." The opponent looked like he was no pushover. The captain's face was tense and grimaced in displeasure. He looked at the two people, a man and a woman. In his mind appeared helplessness. Just by looking at them he knew we couldn't win. Touch them and the whole army will be destroyed. He finally made a decision and ordered his brothers to retreat and leave. The woman couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when she saw this. "Aren't there any experts among you?" she asked. I did not stop them but stood there watching them leave. She gritted her teeth in anger. She should have slept upstairs more, but why did she run down here? The waiters and staff in the restaurant then rushed to carry water to put out the fire. The apologetic woman walked towards them. "I'm sorry, I will compensate you, so don't worry." Bai Wuxian spoke up again at this moment. "Miss. Thanks to her, everything stopped like that. Thank you very much, miss." The woman looked at the corpse on the ground and asked, "It seems that guy was taken care of in one go, was this your fault?" Bok Vo Town turned his head and glanced. Again, he had no choice but to accept, yes. The situation was urgent, so there was no other way. Perhaps the young lady was awakened by this commotion. "I am really sorry." Beyond his expectations, she excitedly ran up to him and asked, "Are you an expert?" Facing a woman at this distance, Bok Vo Tran couldn't help but freeze. The woman quickly realized that something was wrong. She immediately took the initiative to step back, raising her hands to cover her face. She raised her two hands in front of her face to observe Bok Vo Chan's face, then closed them again to reveal only her eyes. Her eyes widened, as if realizing something. In her mind, she quickly thought of his face-covering appearance at that time. "You were the knight back then." Bai Wuxian smiled and shook his head. "No, it's not a knight now, but rather." But before he could finish speaking, the woman's sword was pointed straight at his face. Her face was filled with excitement as she said, "Let's have a match now." Bok Vo Tran was stunned, thinking to himself, why did he suddenly do that? But very quickly he didn't think much about it anymore, instead happily agreed. "But first introduce yourself and then compete, okay?" The woman nodded and put her sword away. "Okay, I am." Before she could finish speaking, a loud noise came from above. "Little Palace Master, little brother Beck." The Westerners ran down from the upper floors like wolves and tigers, each calling out to his acquaintances. Both of them then went down to check and ask their people. The other Westgate quickly noticed the corpse lying beside him. the name of the body was Baekda. The woman interrupted again, he was the high priest of the Iron Blood Gang. He is a famous master of the Iron Blood Gang, actually, he is the next person I am looking for. But you made him like this, so my next opponent is you. The two guards behind heard this, and their faces showed obvious tension. Miss, please, what trouble are you trying to cause again? Bai Wuxian was completely fearless and accepted it calmly. Alright, I am Bai Wuxian of the Snow Mountain Bai family, currently a first-level martial artist of the Northern Heavenly Ming. The woman also cheerfully introduced herself. I am the Little Palace Master of the Holy Fire Palace, Tran Tu Hu. The other Westerners heard this identity and couldn't help but sweat. Both sides immediately went to advise the two of them. The other Westgate said with a serious face, Brother Bai, wait a minute about this. I'll explain later, but for now just ignore it and leave, please. At this moment, another loud noise was heard. A group of people from the Holy Fire Palace rushed in. Quickly capture the Little Palace Master. Little Palace Master, don't run away anymore, this is the Palace Master's order. Tran Tu Hu saw that and was scared, quickly turned around and ran away. Before jumping out the window, she did not forget to say to Bok Vo Tran, next time we must have a match, Bai Wuxian. He smiled and nodded, as if he had accepted. The little lily immediately flew out the window and escaped without hesitation. In the other West Gate Inn, Bai Wuxian asked, do you know anything about the Nine Heavens Alliance, which is almost adjacent to the southeast branch of the Northern Heavens Alliance? Hearing that Wuxian didn't know, he sighed, you don't know anything, right? The Iron Blood Gang and the Holy Fire Palace were part of the Dark Alliance in the past. During the fight for the Alliance, their internal underworld leaders fell into discord, and the Iron Blood sect and the Holy Fire Palace left, forming the current Nine Heavens Alliance. Anyway, getting involved with the dark forces is very troublesome. Especially that Little Palace Master also has a bad reputation. Bai Wuxian didn't care and said, she's very beautiful. Shiman shouted helplessly, what did you say? Please forget it, I'll introduce a beauty to you, so please forget it. The two then went out, talking as they walked. Speaking of Iron Blood Gang, when the Northern Heavenly Alliance attacks Iron Blood Gang, they must definitely go together. The other Westgate agreed, that's natural, I'm a first-class martial artist, Bok Vo Tran explained, what I mean is that I want to meet the leader of the Thiat Huyat Gang once. He is the leader, isn't he? What kind of person is he and what does he think? I wonder why his subordinates behave like that. The scene changed to another side. The deputy leader of the Iron Blood Gang, Lu Ziren, raised his tea and took a sip. Mak Tu Kwang, you said Ban Chao Vin is dead. The person opposite replied, it is said that they died at the hands of a northern heavenly warrior named Bai Wuxian. Lu Ziren was puzzled, so who will kill Bai Wuxian? Mo Shaoguang replied, we have already sent the assassins. Lu Ziren stood up and walked away. Assassin, does the guest have enough strength to kill Ban Gaorong in one move? Mak Tu Kwang shook his head no, but I heard that the Bai family. Before he could finish speaking, Lu Ziren interrupted him, if the assassin dies, will you take responsibility? Mak Tu Kwang was momentarily speechless when he heard that. Lu Ziren continued, 5,000 taels, no, Ban Gaorong will not be satisfied, I will take out 10,000 taels and ask about the assassination cost. But Tu Kwang's face was shocked, deputy gang leader, why did you hire such a red earth assassin? Lu Ziren calmly replied, the conditions are very simple, I just want to see Bai Wuxian's face for a moment, and put his head on my desk. Outside was also in chaos at this moment. Who is Bai Wuxian? He is the martial artist in white. I heard he is a first-class martial artist of the Northern Heavenly Alliance. Do you know the Iron Blood Gang's expert Ban Gaovin? I heard he didn't even have time to do anything. Are you saying he was killed in just one move? They definitely won't let this go. Haha, who knows? Maybe the White Void Town will wipe out everything. The two assassins were sitting eating noodles and heard them discussing about Bok Vo Chan and exclaimed, everywhere is talking about Bok Vo Chan, I really want to meet him soon. On this side, the two people from Bok Vo Chan have brought people to the leader. After going out, the other Westgate people were so happy that they couldn't close their mouths. To be able to see the leader, this is truly an honor for our family. Moreover, he also promoted me, it's all thanks to you, thank you very much. Today is so fun, must drink to be refreshing. The two happily went out, wanting to find a pub to stop by. On the cliff behind the bushes, two assassins were silently watching them. The man's name is Bok Vo Chan, and the man holding the fan is probably Tae Mon Kok. Bok Vo Tran was walking and also sensed something, glanced at them. The two people were immediately frightened by his gaze, hurriedly turned and hid behind the rock. Both of them did not dare to make a sound, cold sweat was pouring down their foreheads. Shiman Ku also asked Bai Wuxian with doubt, what's wrong, is something wrong? Bai Wuchen frowned. Brother Shiman, is something wrong? Shiman Ku immediately assumed a combat stance. Let me go check, but I don't sense any killing intent or aura. Bok Vo Tran did not answer but stood there silently, deep in thought. After a while he closed his eyes and exhaled. Maybe I was wrong, the other Westgate is powerless. Hey, don't joke like that, you're scaring me. Bai Wuchen also replied helplessly, I feel like there's something real. The other Westgate reminded, this is the North Heavenly Bright. No matter how big their livers are, they still wouldn't dare to come all the way here. Bok Vo Tran replied, it could be someone from the Iron Blood Gang. The other Westerners heard this and became even more confused. Iron Blood Gang, are they here for that guy from before? Bai Wuchen continued, if you're scared, then go back, we can leave the drinking for next time. Shiman Ku shouted and walked away, are you crazy? Even if I get stabbed in the neck today, I still have to drink to my heart's content. The two then happily continued walking to the pub. Let's have a few drinks, brother. On this side, the two assassins were still seriously watching them. The two Bai Wuchen just entered the tavern and immediately created a stir. Warrior Beck, how are you? Is that Bai Wuchen? Nice to meet you. The other Westgate was confused. Since when did you become so famous? Bai Wuchen was also dumbfounded, he didn't know either. The two of them then quickly entered the table. The other Shiman sarcastically asked, how does it feel to be famous? Bai Wuchen sighed, what famous? Only the son of a great family like the Shiman family can be considered a celebrity. The other Westerner laughed loudly, shyly waving his hand, you're exaggerating, Bai. Vo Tran was also not polite at all. Yes, praise, that's enough. Brother, tell me about that mysterious force. The other Westerner asked again, have you ever heard of the ghost sect? Bok Vo Tran shook his head, no. Is Mahan Tong a mysterious force? The other Westerner raised his glass, no, listen to me first. For a long time, the demonic sect had been silent, but one day, they suddenly invaded the White Sect Alliance to assassinate the leader and revealed themselves. That was the demon sect's power called the Demon Soul Sect. At that time, the Demon Soul Sect's sect leader defeated all the masters of the 9 sects in the blink of an eye and declared that the world belonged to the demon sect. But the demonic world had just appeared and collapsed in just 10 days. There was a force that burned down the entire headquarters of the demonic soul sect, including the demonic soul sect master. No one knows where they came from or where they went. It is said that on the burned ground appeared the words flying to the sky. So whenever talking about mystical forces, everyone starts with the story of flying. Bok Vo Tran heard this and was interested and exclaimed, Phi Tien Saw. Just then, someone interrupted from the side. Can we listen together? I am a first-class martial arts guest. He did not wait for their agreement but immediately sat down at the table. Shiman Ku, who was excited, immediately cowered. He thought to himself, Li Zhengnan, before joining the Northern Heavenly Alliance, he was no different from an assassin. During this mission, he had killed quite a few people, including the branch chief of the Eastern Heavenly Alliance. After finishing his cup, the main man spoke again, perhaps this mission is no different from before. Recently, I heard that Bai Wuchen is often compared to me. Bok Vo Tran did not say much, immediately stood up and said let's go. No need to be long-winded, just go. The main character was secretly angry in his heart, what an arrogant guy. They then went out to a clearing in the woods. This place looks okay. The leading man drew his sword. I'm ready. Bok Vo Tran did not say much and drew his sword. Both of them faced each other. This was to compete to see who was stronger. Bai Wuchen looked at the other party seriously and started walking. In the forest, 2 assassins were still closely following their every move. When they are focused on fighting, we will rush forward to attack, and I will throw hidden weapons at Bok Vo Tran from behind. We only have one chance. Bok Vo Tran was also secretly glancing at them at this moment, thinking, the game has been arranged, right? The main man in front took the initiative to attack. The 2 men immediately began to clash. Bok Vo Tran bent down to avoid the opponent's attack. Immediately after that, he did not give up and swung his sword to counterattack. The 2 people continuously fought back and forth, swords clashing constantly. The 2 assassins on the cliff were now ready to take action. Below, Ly Chin Nam and Bok Vo Tran still acted as if they didn't know that they were in a fierce battle. The main character jumped up and used all his strength to slash down with a powerful sword. But even so, he was still blocked by Bok Vo Tran, who swung his sword and sent him flying back. Looking at Bok Vo Chan's appearance, he was still extremely leisurely, without any trace of fatigue. The male main character narrowed his eyes and analyzed silently. He was truly terrifyingly strong. Really, it seems impossible to defeat him with normal attacks. Have to use it. Thinking of this, he immediately used his ultimate technique, the blood sword. He continuously swung his sword, slashing out dozens of sword energies. All of them then simultaneously headed towards Bak Vio-chan. The two assassins on the cliff also immediately made their move. It was at this moment. Hidden weapons like rain mixed with sword energy aimed at Bak Vio-chan. But there was no trace of fear on his face. He calmly raised his sword. "Come here, I will take it all." Three people simultaneously aimed at him from two directions. Bak Vio-chan gently swung his sword, releasing cold air. Wherever the sword swung, ice crystals appeared. He raised his sword in front of him, his eyes cold. Then resolutely swung the sword forward. A solid layer of ice immediately formed in front of him. Seeing this scene, the main man couldn't help but open his mouth wide. His sword energy was blocked by the ice wall, unable to advance any further. Above, an assassin also swung his sword and launched an attack. The main man just realized their presence and turned around in surprise. Who else is this? Bak Vio-chan was still not shaken because everything was under his control. He pulled his sword back and raised it in front of him again. The other hand placed on the tip of the sword. A terrifying cold air immediately erupted along his arm. The cold air transformed into countless sword energies that shot up into the sky, creating a very beautiful scene, lighting up a region of the sky. The main reason why people faced this scene was that their mouths were wide open. The young assassin who was sure of victory was also sweating. The other Westerner hiding on the side clenched his fists and applauded. "He is indeed my brother." Sword energy hit the crowd separately. The person in the air continuously cried out in pain. The hidden weapon was also blown away. Not stopping there, the hidden weapon thrower from quite a distance was also hit by the sword energy, causing him to panic and call for his father and mother. A thought immediately came to his mind: he is not someone we can deal with. Thinking of this, he immediately turned around and ran into the forest. The assassin who rushed down to attack head-on was not so lucky. He was hit and fell to the ground. He gritted his teeth and cursed again, standing up. The main officer walked over with a serious face. "Is it an assassin?" Bak Vio-chan glanced at him. A guy had just escaped. The main man replied, "The match must be stopped. I will go after him immediately. I didn't expect that the assassin would dare to sneak into the northern heavens. This is unforgivable." Having said that, he immediately flew towards the other party to chase after them. He cursed in his heart, "Damn it, he knows there's an assassin and still fights me." On this side, the assassin was still acting on guard, staring at the two people. The other Westgate questioned, "Who sent you here? Is it the Iron Blood Gang?" The assassin did not reply but shouted loudly, "Charge, I will cut off both of your heads." Bai Wuxian directed the other Westgate to order, "Brother, chase the assassin and run away with Li Jingnan. Go, let me take care of this assassin, I'll chase after him right away." The other Westgate also had no opinion because he knew clearly the strength of Bak Vio-chan. "All right, then I'll leave this guy to you. Brother, I believe you won't do that, but I still want to remind you of one thing, which is to absolutely not let him live. The assassin must be dealt with thoroughly, otherwise it will leave behind unpredictable consequences." The young assassin's face became even more tense and confused when he heard that. Waiting for the other Westgate to leave, Bai Wuxian began to question, "Did the Iron Blood Gang hire assassins to assassinate me?" The assassin didn't say much, he just charged forward. "You don't need to know this, you just need to die." Bak Vio-chan did not even bother to put him in his eyes, calmly swung his sword up. The young man rushed forward and was hit in the shoulder with the hilt of his sword. Even so, he continued to swing his sword to attack. But Bak Vio-chan used a speed that was invisible to the naked eye to appear behind him. Before he could understand what was happening, his skull was grabbed by Bak Vio-chan. The cold air immediately began to spread to the opponent's body. Bai Wuxian's face wrinkled with some hesitation. But that hesitation didn't last long. Very quickly, he swung his sword to finish off his opponent. Ice crystals were scattered everywhere. He closed his eyes and concentrated. In his mind appeared the image of himself standing in the middle of a sea of bloody corpses. His father's voice of reminder from that year rang out once again, "When you step out into the world, the whole world will be your enemy, the lonely battle will begin." Scene changed to inside the forest. The remaining assassin was still running away frantically. In his heart he was extremely bitter and cursed. "Damn Iron Blood Gang, why did it only take the two of us to deal with a monster like this? It takes a whole team of assassins to win." Seeing the two men behind him chasing after him made him even more frightened. Why are they still chasing after him? He quickly waved his hand and released a stack of hidden weapons. The two male officials each used their weapons to block it. "You dare to sneak into the North Heaven to assassinate me, you really don't know fear, huh?" But the other party instantly increased the distance between them again. The other Westgate gritted his teeth. He had already grasped the terrain and was running away. if this continued, he would lose his hiding place. The assassin running in front snorted coldly. Once they get past that point, they won't be able to catch up. He was feeling pleased when suddenly a figure appeared beside him. Who else could this person be if not Bai Wuzhen? Although he started later, he has now caught up and is shoulder to shoulder with the assassin. The two men were surprised to see him suddenly jump out. Bok Vo Tran coldly turned his head to glance at the assassin. Before the other party's dumbfounded expression, he gently raised his hand. The young man had no way to avoid it, and was sent flying by this palm strike. His body was buried in the pile of rocks and soil, lying there motionless, with no way to escape. The two male officials quickly ran over. The other Westerner worriedly asked, "Brother Bai, are you okay? Did you kill that guy?" So, Bok Vo Tran looked at him seriously, making him stand still. "Brother Taimon, please take me to the gate." Move scene to the side. The sect master, the sect leader Lin Gaxiao, walked out from the side, angry. "Damn it, you still order me around. Today is the last time I will personally go see Lu Zi Ninja." Thinking of Lu Ziren's hateful face, he became even more annoyed. Our strength was still far inferior to that of the Iron Blood gang. But as soon as they went out, they were startled. What was that smell? "Why is there a smell of pine resin here?" The subordinate behind was confused when he heard this. "Is it the smell of pine resin?" At this moment, a mocking voice rang out in the forest. "I have never heard of a sect master having a dog's nose." Hearing that, the three people simultaneously drew their weapons and guarded their surroundings. Lam Ca said harshly, "Come out." As soon as he finished speaking, a crowd of people appeared around them. "Is Sect Master Lam still well?" Lam Ca asked in confusion. "Who are you?" The other person said coldly, "We are the Holy Fire Palace." Lin Ji Shao Huang was scared. "Why did the Holy Fire Palace come here?" The other person calmly replied, "Of course I have something to see you about." Lin Ji Shao shouted nervously, "We have never received any requests related to the Holy Fire Palace. Even if there is an offer, we will refuse. I have an appointment to meet the deputy leader of the Iron Blood gang ahead, so don't get in the way." The middle-aged man stood there extremely calmly. "You dare compare me to the Iron Blood gang? The Killing Gate is a gathering place for cowards who specialize in assassinations. Indeed, your vision is no different from that of a cowardly rat." Lam Ca was so angry that he could only grit his teeth and say nothing. Middle-aged man continued, "Sect Master Lin, I have a proposal and you are not allowed to refuse. A master of this palace will compete with you. If your martial arts are good enough, I will let the killing sect join the Holy Fire Palace." Lin Ji Shao was not at all weak. "Join the Holy Fire Palace? Are you threatening me with nonsense?" He quickly noticed the person behind him. "Master, is that the person you're talking about?" The middle-aged man turned his head and glanced back. "It's this one." Tran Tu Hu quickly walked over. "Lam. Is Ca Tu a person who deserves to die?" The middle-aged man replied, "In fact, he was not even worthy to be ordered around like a dog or horse." Tran Tu Hu said with disgust, looking at that crazy gaze. The words of the historian were indeed correct. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for not taking me back to the palace but bringing me here." The messenger smiled. Anyway, the young palace master would find a way to escape and find this guy, right? Tran Tu Hu smiled. "If I lose to Sect Master Lam, please avenge me." Left envoy. Lam Ca Tu gritted his teeth and cursed inwardly. "These bastards, can he just raise his sword and point it at them?" Xiao Hui held out her hand. "Let me prepare a bit." She then held out her hand as if in provocation. Seeing this, Lam Ca Tu shouted loudly with great enthusiasm. He did not hesitate to rush towards her. Flames immediately erupted on the little lily's arm. A blazing flame was released with a wave of her hand. The rushing Lam Ca Tu was forced to stop and swing his sword to block. The fire was easily cut in two by him. But the little flower had already jumped on top of his head at this moment. She then grabbed his head with both hands and jumped down. Lam Ca Tu looked up at the blazing fire that was rushing down and was terrified. The flames erupted, accompanied by his miserable screams. After the attack, the little lily landed lightly not far away. Lam Ca Tu was burned alive and turned into dust. The messenger also came forward and said, "I have arranged for the young palace master to learn more about tactics and accumulate experience. Why did you suddenly use the heavenly flame fire to destroy the enemy immediately?" Xiao Hui puffed her cheeks uncomfortably. "His gaze made me feel very uncomfortable." The messenger advised, "Then we will return to the palace now. I will report to the palace master that on this trip there is no expert worthy of the palace master's confrontation." Little Lily pondered. After a while, she remembered the direction he asked. "Envoy, before returning to the palace, there is still a place I must stop by." The messenger shook his head. "No, it's too late now, and I've already reported to the palace master that we're only going to the gate. Xiao Hui still won't give up. This is really my last request, Your Majesty. I promised to meet that person. Okay, please. The envoy thought for a moment, then asked again. Is this really the last time? He then ordered his men to burn the gate. The entire building was engulfed in flames. Bok Vo Tran also happened to run here after a while. The other Westerners who were with him witnessed this scene and couldn't help but freeze. What exactly was going on? What happened to the killing sect? So, Bok Vo Tran did not answer but silently observed. The three words Holy Fire Palace quickly appeared in his mind. They then led each other back to the North Heavenly Palace. Bok Vo Tran did not rest but went to the martial arts room to practice swordplay. He practiced swordplay while thinking, Holy Fire Palace's Tran Tu Hu. How strong is she that she can completely destroy the killing gate? He imagined that there was a blazing fire in front of him, then swung his sword and used his cold energy to cut it apart. On his face was a serious look. Ice and fire felt strange. Soon I have to find a way to get there myself. The image of the beautiful Tran Tu Hu quickly appeared in his mind. Thinking of her, his face couldn't help but turn red. At this moment, someone from outside poked their head in and said, By Wu Town, a guest has arrived. The frightened young man regained his senses and raised his hand to cover his face. A guest? I don't have any guests. Who is it? The other person replied, It is said that he came from the snowy mountains. Bok Vo Chan was surprised to hear that someone from the family had come. He immediately ran outside. There's no way the family would send someone, or is there some bad news? But when he went outside, he was stunned. Because there stood a figure that was not from the Bok family. He pensively observed the opponent from behind. Who are you to impersonate my family and come here? The other person slowly turned around. Excuse me, I will introduce myself. I am Li Kun. I am the left envoy of the Holy Fire Palace. Bok Vo Tran was a bit surprised when he heard that it was someone from the Holy Fire Palace. Li Kun explained, Sorry, but this is the only way to meet you. I even waited at the inn where the Northern Heavenly Warriors often passed by, but I couldn't meet you. Bok Vo Tran faced these words and chose to remain silent. Li Kun continued, What's wrong? Since I'm from the Holy Fire Palace, are you planning to tell the people around? Do you want to capture me? Bai Wuxian shook his head. No need to do that. Let's talk about the main topic first. Li Kun continued, Actually, I came here not because of my own will, but because I couldn't resist the will of the person I'm serving. Bai Wuxian was surprised. The person he served. Li Kun continued, That person is practicing martial arts, and the way he practices martial arts is not like normal. The three freaks Chen Chu, the Great Tiger and the Sword of Light, and the old freak of Sha Feng are all famous masters of the evil sect. Recently, all of them were defeated by that person. Seeing Bai Wuxian's expression, he couldn't help but pause, thinking to himself, What is that? What is that expression? After a while, Li Kun continued, The important thing was that the person had single-handedly defeated the sect master of the killing sect, Lin Ji Shao, without any other interference of course. Bok Vo Tran secretly sighed in his heart. I knew it. Li Kun continued, When that person was about to return to the palace, he asked me for a favor. Before he finished speaking, Bok Vo Chan directly asked her where she was. Seeing Li Kun stunned, Bai Wuxian continued, Little Palace Master Chen Xiaohui, where is she? You should say where is that person? Ly Khan corrected himself. Bai Wuxian replied, If you speak as a person of the Northern Heavenly Brightness, then yes, but now I am speaking as the head of the Snow Mountain Bai family. Where is she? Ly Khan was surprised when he heard that, the owner of the Tuet Sun Bok family. He immediately bowed. I apologize for not recognizing your identity as the head of the family. Then let's go. Bok Vo Tran then followed him away. Wise man think while walking. If this guy is stronger than the little palace lord, then we must find a way to postpone this match to another day. Thinking of this, he turned his head and said, From here, let's go a little faster because the distance is quite far. Can we move using lightness skill? Bok Vo Tran had no opinion, calmly nodded, Of course. Li Kun explained, I will give you time to rest after we arrive, so don't misunderstand. Bai Wuxian remained extremely calm. It's up to you. Li Kun laughed, that confidence is impressive. If you're tired, just tell me, I'll slow down. Having said that, he immediately flew away. Go. Bai Wuxian's first emotion was to widen his eyes. Then the corner of his mouth lifted up in delight. On this side, Ly Khan had already moved a long distance, but still could not see Bok Vo Tran, which inevitably raised his suspicions. Where is he? But very quickly, his eyes widened in surprise. Because Bok Vo Tran was leisurely walking right behind him. There was no sign of discomfort on his face. Ly Khan saw that and immediately stopped unexpectedly. Bok Vo Tran also braked and stopped accordingly. Again, he looked at him in confusion. Are you here yet? Ly Khan hesitated. Oh, not yet, I fell down a tree so I stopped for a bit, I'm afraid I've gone the wrong way. Bai Wuxian asked again, is that so, which direction is it? Li Kun pointed to the side, this way, but why aren't your footsteps very loud? Bai Wuxian raised his foot, my steps are quite light, shall we continue? Ly Khan once again flew away, oh okay, let's keep going. Bok Vo Tran frowned, thinking to himself, sir, please run faster. Li Kun moved forward, thinking to himself, just his lightness skill alone was enough to make him famous. Should we investigate the Snow Mountain White family, we have to decide the winner here. Using lightness skill to reach the meeting point is something I told my subordinates in advance. I ordered them to hide on both sides of the road and throw hidden weapons. Of course I told them to throw it at me too so that Bok Vo Chan wouldn't suspect anything. We arranged this in advance to guard against the possibility that Bok Vo Chan's martial arts really appeared. Color, looks like we really have to use this method, 2 people go one way, one in front and one behind. Bok Vo Tran secretly thought in his heart, his internal energy is profound, and his lightness skill is also very stable, the martial arts of the Holy Fire Palace make me more and more curious. At this moment, he suddenly realized something. The speed seems to be slowing down a bit, there's no way he's getting tired that quickly. The wise man in front was thinking silently, at this moment. Very quickly in the forest there were countless hidden weapons released. Bok Vo Tran jumped up to avoid it. He jumped high up into the sky, out of the forest. He floated there, head bowed, observing below. Ly Khan was struggling to defend himself against hidden weapons below. Very quickly, hidden weapons were also shot towards Bok Vo Town from above. He also quickly dodged. Go, he then also landed on the ground. Bok Vo Tran quickly noticed where the hidden weapon was released. He did not hesitate to draw his sword and draw a line. The hidden weapons did not stop, they continued to shoot forward. Bok Vo Tran was not confused at all, still calmly swung his sword to block. He immediately swung his sword to counterattack. The terrifying ice shot straight towards the group of people who were throwing hidden weapons in the forest. The crowd saw that they were exposed and panicked, immediately running into the forest. How could Bok Vo Tran forgive them so easily? He put his sword away and resolutely chased after him. All 4 of them were extremely scared. Scared, Bok Vo Tran raised both hands in front of his face. He aimed straight at the assassins through the gap. Then he began to condense his true energy and performed the cold moon technique. But at this moment, Ly Khan appeared in front of him and blocked him. He firmly reached out and grabbed his hand. Bok Vo Chan also did not give up and grabbed his hand to question. Is this the plan of the left envoy? Why not just say you want to fight? Ly Khan saw that and his face wrinkled. Again, he immediately circulated his energy. Bai Wuxian also similarly stimulates cold air. The flame of the holy fire will turn into a snowflake. Ly Khan faced this situation and couldn't help but sweat. Bok Vo Chan then used force to drag the opponent away. Ly Khan was therefore pushed away by him with force. Again, but he still did not stop and swung his spear again. No shock then, needless to say, like his tide. The 2 men once again faced each other head-on. The place where they fought immediately erupted into a violent explosion. Ly Khan's face became more and more wrinkled, very tense. Bai Wuxian on this side is still leisurely as if nothing happened. The 2 palms were still clashing with no sign of separating. Ly Khan thought to himself, first let's make Bok Vo Tran unconscious. Thinking so, he immediately used his remaining hand to gather strength. The fiery red true energy quickly erupted. The fire just like that flared up and wrapped around the body without shaking. Even so, he still didn't have any fear, his face was solemn as he used his counterattack move, the White Flower Divine Skill, 4-star. Cold air immediately erupted and pressed back. In no time, Li Kuan's arm was covered in a layer of ice crystals. Again, his face wrinkled in silent panic, how could this be? But in the blink of an eye, it swallowed my anti-inflammatory fire energy, looks like that's the only way now, I will explode the anti-inflammatory fire energy from within. Wu Zhen on the opposite side sensed his change, his eyes couldn't help but widen in surprise. The fire flared up again, breaking the cold air of Wushu. Li Kun closed his eyes and thought, my body will also be shattered into pieces, but Bai Wu Zhen will not be safe either, that will be a way to repay the favor to the Holy Fire Palace Master. Bai Wu Zhen on the opposite side was also secretly sighing, he had already decided to accept death, what an idiot. Ly Khan carried high determination and luck. Palace Master and Little Palace Master, the left envoy asks to step back here. At this moment, another stream of fire came from afar, accompanied by a sound calling for them to stop. Bok Vo Tran startled and turned his head to look back. The person who came was none other than Tu Hu. She gritted her teeth and rushed towards him like a moth. The two were thus separated. Bok Vo Chan was still stupidly watching her. Little Hugh just landed and looked at him with unfriendly eyes. Her gaze couldn't help but make Bok Vo Tran a little startled. On this side, Ly Khan's whole body was struggling and groaning. The little girl quickly ran to help him. His arms were still shaking violently. Xiao Hui angrily shouted, "Master, stop it, Bai Wuzhen, please be merciful. This happened because of my negligence, I apologize to you." Bok Vo Tran remained silent and did not respond. Li Kun at this moment finally could not bear it anymore, violently coughing up blood. He finally collapsed to the ground, unable to stand. Xiao Hui was worried beside him. She quickly went behind him to help him heal his injuries. After a while, Ly Khan calmed down and said, "I'm fine. Xiao Hui is still concentrating on cultivating, don't say any more." Li Kun secretly blamed himself, "You are really incompetent, Li Kun." Xiao Hui suddenly exclaimed, "Envoy, you have done something useless." Bai Wuzhen in front was still quietly waiting and observing. After helping Ly Khan stabilize his injuries, Tu Hu paid attention to him again. She ordered her subordinates behind her. The people who were waiting also retreated. The crowd also had no opinion and unanimously accepted the order, obeying the young sect leader. When there were only 2 people left, she turned to Bai Wuzhen and said, "I received a report that many of my subordinates had escaped, so I chased after them. I didn't know about this. I will severely punish the envoy later." Bok Vo Tran on the opposite side observed her expression, secretly sighing in his heart. Holy Fire Palace is strange, both subordinate and master. Tu Hu was also very confused at this moment. How could Bok Vo Tran overwhelm Ta Su? This is really unbelievable. Bok Vo Tran narrowed his eyes to evaluate her. Was the little palace master stronger than the left envoy? Both of them had the same thought of wanting to test each other's strength. After a while they spoke up, "Should we change locations?" The two then went to a bar to talk. "I apologize again for the matter of the left messenger, I did not expect this to happen. You should hear the truth from Bok Vo Tran. If you listen to Ta Su, he will definitely make up excuses first." Bok Vo Tran replied, "On the way here, Ta Su and I used our lightness skill to get here. Someone threw a hidden weapon, because the hidden weapon was also aimed at Ta Su. At that time I did not suspect anything." "What? But when we chased the person throwing the hidden weapon, the messenger blocked our pursuit, then we realized that the person throwing the hidden weapon was a warrior from the Holy Fire Palace." Tu Hu suddenly realized, "I just wanted to compete with you, Bok Vo Chan. Perhaps the left envoy is too worried, I apologize to you on his behalf." Bok Vo Tran hurriedly waved his hand, "It's okay, I understand the loyalty of the left envoy. But I heard that you have continuously defeated the masters in the martial arts world, this makes me a bit surprised." Tu Hu smiled, "Is that so? Thinking back, it seems like Bok Vo Tran and I are not that different in age, right? Bok Vo Tran is 22, and Tu Hu is 20. The two then fell into silence, looking at each other, not knowing what to say. The atmosphere was tense when suddenly a loud laugh rang out. The table next to them had a few guys watching them and laughing with interest. "What is that called again? What is that called?" "Men and women meet sweetly and intimately, it looks interesting. Can we join? I'll pay for any drinks, huh?" As he spoke, one of them walked over and kicked the wine bottle on their table. "Oh, sorry, I slipped and that's why, I'll order some new wine for us to join in, okay." Xiao Hui ignored him and asked Bai Wuzhen, "What do you usually do at times like this?" Vo Chan smiled, "I don't know, this is the first time I've encountered this, what will Miss Jean do?" Xiao Hui picked up her sword and calmly replied, "Usually I would kill them all." The 3 people who heard their conversation were momentarily stunned. Killing who? No need to kill everyone, that's not a good way. Tu Hu was doubtful, "Isn't that good?" Bai Wuzhen continued, "It is impossible to kill all the insects in this world. If we kill these people, their accomplices will come looking for us again, and we will have to kill more people." The crowd's faces became more and more grim as they listened. What nonsense is this crazy guy talking about? Tu Hu is still very confused, so how to handle this to make things peaceful? Bok Vo Tran put his hand on the table, then handle it well. Immediately, the other guy's legs were frozen in place. Tu Hu saw this scene and could not help but be shocked. Indeed an ice master. Bok Vo Tran ordered the other 2 to take him away. They did not dare to linger any longer and immediately carried their companions away. Xiao Hui asked again, "In the end, Bai Wuzhen, you didn't kill that person?" Bai Wuzhen nodded, "He was still breathing so he probably wasn't dead." Xiao Hui smiled, "Maybe." "Ah," she immediately stood up. Also do not forget to call Bok Vo-chan to stand up together. He understood, smiled and stood up, okay. A moment later, outside a certain cliff. Below, two people, Bok Vo-tran and Tu Hu, were standing face to face. She glanced up and said, I didn't know there was a place like this around here, the quiet really suited me. Bai Wuxian smiled, fortunately this place is suitable for competition, it is indeed a good place. Xiao Hui took the initiative to draw her sword first. Until now, there has never been a time when I had to immediately draw my sword upon meeting an opponent. This means we rate that fighter very highly. I don't mean anything by it, but no one has ever fought me and lived before, Bai Wuxian continued, it seems that the young palace master is very strong. Xiao Hui coldly snorted, thinking to herself, she must try her best to win quickly, but still let him live and leave, after all, her opponent is still someone from the Northern Heavenly Alliance. Bok Vo-tran observed for a while, then asked, are you really going to fight with a sword? Xiao Hui was confused, can't you? Vo-chan asked again, the thing you are most confident in is the sword. Tu Hu was even more confused, so what? Bai Wuxian replied, I don't use swords indiscriminately. Xiao Hui was dumbfounded, so when do you use it? Bai Wuxian's face turned serious, when it is necessary to definitely kill someone, isn't that the purpose of the sword? Xiao Hui widened her eyes and thought to herself, how could there be such a person? She thought for a moment and then put her sword away, then let's fight with palm techniques first, if there's no winner, then let's use swords. Bok Vo-tran also happily agreed, the two then put their swords aside. Both of them looked at each other for a while. Bok Vo-tran was the one who took the initiative to break the silence, let's begin. Tu Hu let out a sigh, thinking to herself, to compete once is really long-winded, those white-skinned people are really troublesome. She then immediately reminded him, then be careful. Bok Vo-tran's face also became serious. Xiao Hui's anger quickly erupted. Her eyes had also become sharper than ever. She is the one who initiated the attack. First, a palm-carrying strong fire energy struck towards Bok Vo-tran's face. But he easily dodged it. The two quickly engaged in a fierce battle, exchanging punches and kicks. Xiao Hui attacked repeatedly, but was avoided by Bai Wuxian. Okay, after a while, he found the opportunity to swing his head to use the 4-star white flower divine skill. A palm carrying a strong cold air hit straight on the little Hu's hand. She was attacked suddenly and couldn't help but be startled. Body just like that was blown away. Go, she flew into the cliff causing smoke and dust to cover the sky. Bok Vo-tran saw this and couldn't help but secretly blame himself, couldn't I control my strength, was it going to end like this? But very quickly, the little Hu rushed out from the dust filled with murderous intent. Her face was now covered in dirt, but her eyes were very sharp. Bok Vo-tran saw her return and his expression became firm. The little lily floating in the air stimulates the fire element, blessing both hands. Immediately swung his palm down. Below, Bok Vo-chan also waved his hand to perform a move. Ice quickly condensed into his palm. He used ice to create a shield around himself to block the fire of the little lily. Xiao Hui suddenly clapped her hands together. She quickly appeared before the white-haired man. The two attacks clashed like that. Immediately after that, a very violent explosion broke out here. Smoke and dust rose up, covering everywhere. Little Lily inside the smoke and dust is sitting down in one place. She turned her head and glanced back. Not far away, Bok Vo-tran was on a cliff. He was also looking at her, secretly exclaiming, she really is a dangerous girl. Xiao Hui saw that he was not affected by the anger that erupted again. She also quickly stood up. The red flames once again rushed towards the white void town. Go, he up here once again used cold air to form ice crystals. The two attacks clashed fiercely again. Bok Vo-chan did not stand still and take the hit anymore but proactively charged forward to attack. The cold air condensed into a piece of ice that he held in his hand. Then he threw it towards the little girl. She was on this side with a wrinkled face without fear. Faced with the ice crystals flying towards her, she did not choose to dodge but instead waved her hand to activate her firearm. Fire was concentrated in her palm. Seeing the ice crystal approaching, she let out a loud scream. The firearm in his hand was immediately released. Fire and cold are about to collide head-on. Here again a big explosion broke out. Xiao Hui stood there completely unable to see anything but smoke and dust. Very quickly, the figure of Bok Vo-chan appeared from behind. He looked at her with appreciation, it was amazing. Xiao Hui snorted coldly and sneered, both were in equal danger. Bok Vo-tran secretly retorted, no, only her. I thought 4 stars was enough, but it seems we have to upgrade to 5 stars. Thinking so, he immediately gathered his energy and prepared to use the 5-star white flower divine skill. The cold air this time was much stronger than before. On this side, Tu Hu was also filled with determination, thinking to herself, whether Bak Vo Chan lives or dies, I will definitely determine the winner. But very quickly her eyes widened in surprise. The aura radiating from Bak Vo Chan's body at this moment was completely different from before. This made Tu Hu surprised in her heart. What's going on? Hasn't he used all his strength just now? Her eyes immediately wrinkled, showing obvious discomfort. This guy is really like that, let's see how strong he is. Thinking so, she immediately rushed forward. Bak Vo Tran looked at her with serious eyes. The two elders of the little lily both burst into fierce flames. But Bak Vo Tran was not confused at all, calmly raising his hand to receive. The two once again fought head-on. Both four eyes stared at each other. Xiao Hui's face wrinkled, showing obvious discomfort. Bak Vo Chan is still indifferent as if nothing happened. Her 2 feet suddenly stomped on the ground, causing the ground to cave in. The two were still arguing fiercely, neither side giving in. Xiao Hui thought to herself, feeling as if she was facing an eternal ice wall. The cold air from Bak Vo Tran's body at this moment had begun to radiate along his arm. This made the little Hugh very surprised. Bai Wuxian's mouth corners slightly raised. Up, little Lily at this moment seemed to fall into endless space of ice and snow. She stared blankly, eyes wide with disbelief. She looked around in panic. Very quickly, she felt a chill that penetrated her skin. She helplessly knelt down on the ground, curling up her body. In reality, her body was now covered by a layer of cold air. Her flames were completely unable to resist the cold air of the White Void town. But she did not give up because of that. Very quickly, the fire flickered again. The cold air surrounded her, then was crushed. This could not help but make Bak Vo Chan feel surprised. Tu Hu stood up again. The coldness was temporarily dispelled by her. In the palm of her hand was a blazing flame. In reality, her face was very gloomy. Bak Vo Chan saw that and couldn't help but sigh, how stubborn. Inside her consciousness a flame was condensed and released. It fell and created a sea of fire around her. The ice was also suppressed. Broken, white and tremulous still had no movement but to silently observe. After being beaten up for a while, Tu Hu finally let out a breath. She raised her head and looked at him with a frown. Almost froze to death. Then, she regained her composure and used both hands to tightly grasp the white void. Then kicked him straight on the body. Bak Vo Chan did not have time to react and was sent flying by her. He struggled for a while before he could stand up. He wasn't affected too much by this blow, he was simply pushed back. The little lily in front had once again condensed flames. She then hit the ground hard. Flames then erupted from the ground on both sides of Bai Wuxian. Her face now showed confidence. She then clapped her hands together. The two flames gradually retracted and struck towards Bai Wuxian. His eyes now became sharp again. There was a powerful explosion immediately afterwards. Inside the smoke and dust, a white figure broke through the air and flew up. Seeing this, Tu Hu waved her hand to stir up the fire. Firepower quickly flew from all directions in pursuit. Bak Vo Tran hurriedly turned around to avoid. He quickly landed on a nearby cliff. Of course, Tu Hu will not let it go so easily. The fire once again rushed madly. Bak Vo Tran had no other choice but to continue avoiding. He was very confused in his heart. What kind of martial art was this? Little Lily shouted loudly and used more strength. The fire has now turned from yellow to bright red. Her hands clenched, then punched each other. Her eyes also became colder. The ground under Bai Wuxian's feet now had countless bright red water stains. He startled and looked up at her. Xiao Hui's 2 hands clenched even tighter. The cracked ground became more and more obvious. Then she spread her arms and created a huge roar of fire. Another powerful explosion broke out. Xiao Hui widened her eyes in surprise. Because her fire was gradually being overwhelmed by the cold air. The white figure without shock was enveloped, and a cold air came out from him. I then used absolute cold air. White belt. Immediately after that, a huge ice explosion broke out here. Terrible cold air filled the sky. The whole mountain range was covered with cold air like falling snow. Bai Wuxian stood in the center like an ice god. He now walked in front of the little person. She herself was now covered in cold air. He stood there silently waiting and watching. Very quickly, countless water stains appeared on her body from the cold air. Soon they were defeated again. Bak Vo Tran saw that and couldn't help but be surprised, awake. Although Xiao Hui had woken up, she still stood still. Her eyes were dull and her mouth kept moaning. Immediately after that she fell to the ground unconscious. Bak Vo Tran hurriedly sat down to check. Is it because her martial arts are incompatible with mine? Being able to endure to this extent is already very good. By the way, sorry for touching you. He then picked her up. As soon as he picked her up, he exclaimed, this fragile girl dares to fight me. Tu Hu was unconscious at this time, completely unaware of what was going on, so it was unclear whether she could hear what he said. Bok Vo Tran just like that carried her away from this place. While walking, Bok Vo Chan suddenly startled and let out an ah sound. He sniffed and smelled the scent of flowers in the wind. He then lowered his head to look at the unconscious little Hugh in his arms. Then he sighed. Then speed up running away. While running, Xiao Hui suddenly woke up and exclaimed, let me down. Bai Wuxian was startled, his face flushed red, he let go and threw her down. Xiao Hui was thrown down by him without mercy. Regret, Bok Vo Tran panicked, hurriedly waved his hand to explain, there is no other way. It was because you were unconscious that I had no choice but to take you away. While he was explaining, Tu Hu took out a handkerchief and gave it to him. Seeing his puzzled expression, she told him to quickly wipe his face. Bok Vo Tran stupidly lifted the towel to wipe his face unconsciously. Only then did he realize the floral scent coming from the scarf. Tu Hu saw him standing there, dumbfounded, so she raised her hand to ask for the sword. Very quickly, she returned to her original serious appearance. Only then did she bow her head sincerely to him, thank you for going easy on me, I lost. But I want to try again next time. Bok Vo Tran smiled, fight again. I don't want to, his answer made Tu Hu very confused, why? Bok Vo Tran secretly thought in his heart, if we are not opponents, then why continue fighting? He then said, let's make an appointment in 10 years. His words made Tu Hu very uncomfortable, she coldly snorted. She then clasped her hands towards him, then see you next time. Bok Vo Tran also had no objection to clasping his hands in return, okay. Xiao Hui then turned and left. Bok Vo Tran stood there watching her back, thinking to himself, maybe nothing will happen on her way home. The more he thought, the more uneasy he felt. In the end, he still took the initiative to call her. Miss Jean, I will wait for you to arrive at the Jean clan's trading house before returning. This makes Tu Hu very confused. It's okay, I will go alone, Bok Vo Tran threatened. If you don't listen, I will control you and take you there. Xiao Hui heard that and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Control me. Bok Vo Tran's face was serious, do you have to use force for me to listen? Xiao Hui had no choice but to smile and hum. Okay, let's go. On the other side, the fire is still burning. Dead bodies were continuously thrown into the fire. But there are still many corpses outside. Not far away, someone was quietly observing. He sat there with a jug of wine, he turned his head to look at the corpse on the ground. Even though he is about to die, he is still stubborn. This person is none other than the indescribable Li. The dead people were from the Holy Flower Palace, a subordinate beside him continued. Perhaps he is the person responsible for escorting the young palace master. The young man instructed, first, record his physical characteristics and find out carefully who he is. Another guy came, the deputy gang leader. Recently, someone said they saw a young man and woman. According to the description, the girl was probably the young palace leader. The other person replied, although he was not very sure, but the person accompanying him, based on the description, seemed to be a young man. Seeing him stammering, he asked, it seems like what? The subordinate replied, it seems to be the Bai Wuxian of the Northern Heavenly Bright. On this side, two people from Bai Wu Town are walking together in the forest. They still have no idea what's happening on the left side. Bok Vo Tran could not help but speak up. Miss Tran, what happened just now? He turned back and was startled. Because the little girl ran away. Her face showed worry. Because there is black smoke rising up ahead. That direction is the Jean clan's trading post, where our Holy Fire Palace subordinates are. Bok Vo Tran behind also realized something, his face wrinkled. Something is burning. The two of them didn't say much, together speeding up the pace. They quickly ran to the place where the Ly Khan people died. Xiao Hui was stunned and could not believe her eyes. Bai Wuxian was also very surprised. The corpse lay there, utterly miserable. Behind were the bodies of other people constantly burning. Bok Vo Tran's heart was full of doubts. Who did this? Tu Hu ran to hug Ly Khan's body. She did not cry but still stared straight ahead. Very quickly a voice rang out, hugging a dead person like that, will he be able to come back to life? Come here, have a drink, Bok Vo Chan. And the little palace master. Xiao Hui coldly looked at him and asked, who are you? He asked back, have you heard of the Lu Zi ring? Bok Vo Tran frowned, are you from the Iron Blood gang? Lu Ziren snapped, kids these days are really rude. That's right, I'm the deputy gang leader of the Iron Blood gang. Tu Hu gently placed Ly Khan's body on the ground. Then used his hand to close his eyes to help him rest. She then stood up. The messenger really likes wine, I must drink a glass of that wine. As she said this, her gaze towards Lu Ziren carried a fierce murderous aura. Lu Ziren completely ignored him, still indifferent. Come here, I will pour you a cup. Tu Hu was about to move forward when Bok Vo Tran squeezed in front of her. Can't the little palace master drink alcohol? I'll drink it instead. He quickly came to sit opposite Lu Ziren. The other party smiled and poured him a glass. I heard you killed Mak Tu Kwang and Ban Chao Vin. Bok Vo Tran received the cup of wine and nodded calmly. That's right. Having said that, he raised his cup and drained it all in one gulp. Lu Ziren burst out laughing. I never thought we could meet so easily. You even brought the little palace master who killed Lin Ge Shao here. Xiao Hui sat down with a cold face beside him, and Bai Wuxian exclaimed, Give me a cup. Lu Ziren did not refuse, he smiled and continued to pour wine. All right, on days like this we must drink, let me invite you a cup. Tu Hu reached out to pick up the cup, but was stopped by Bok Vo Tran. I will drink for you. Xiao Hui still firmly held the cup of wine. I don't drink for myself, this cup of wine is for the left envoy. Having said that, she drank it all in one gulp. She then asked for another cup. Lu Ziren smiled even more happily. Drink it all up, good, good. By the way, is that guy lying there the left envoy of the Holy Fire Palace? No wonder your martial arts are so good. At that time, when the sect masters were in trouble, I was very curious to know who he was. He is really strong. Even though he was injured, he still fought back fiercely, so we had to cut off his legs first. Next was cutting off both hands, then he stopped talking here. Because Bok Vo Tran waved his hand and knocked his hand away, along with a palm strike aimed at his head. Lu Ziren is also not an easy one. He also waved his arms continuously to resist and receive Bok Vo Tran's punches. His eyes narrowed, his heart was very confused. What is this guy doing? After a while, he seized the opportunity and wanted to point a finger at the back of Bai Wuxian's hand. But unexpectedly, Bok Vo Tran turned his hand and wanted to flick out a move. The arm of the ninja was thus knocked back. He couldn't help but be surprised, turned his head to look at his arm. One of his fingers was now covered in ice crystals. Is ice attack? What? He immediately clenched his fist. A punch aimed straight at Bok Vo Tran's face and struck. Bok Vo Tran's face was solemn and fearless. He also raised his spear to block it. Lu Ziren's face became even more shocked. Because of this move, he was at a disadvantage and was knocked off the table. The men behind him hurriedly supported him, helping him stand firm again. Eating meat sticks made him very uncomfortable. The hand that had just fought with Bok Vo Tran was also deformed and very painful. He quickly used his energy to calm down. The corners of his mouth then lifted up with great pleasure. Then he shouted loudly and called his subordinates to rush up and deal with the two people. They were about to make a move when a voice stopped them. Wait a minute. Bok Vo Tran stood up and smiled. We should have fought in moderation just now. What should we do now? Tu Hu agreed. You're right. Anyway, brother Mujin, let me kill him myself. Bok Vo Chan did not refuse but calmly agreed. Lu Ziren listened to their conversation and couldn't help but feel amused. Are these two brats crazy? Bok Vo Tran is confused. Why have you been laughing all this time? Many of your subordinates have died already. Lu Ziren smiled even more interestedly. Now was not the time to worry about that. Immediately after that, there was a very unpleasant creaking sound, causing him to cover his ears with both hands. That was the sound of Bai Wuxian drawing his sword. His subordinates were no less, each one of them clutching their ears and screaming. Lu Ziren's face showed shock. The strange sound of the sword being drawn made me shiver. It felt like it was tearing at someone's soul. The last sword was finally completely drawn by Bok Vo Chan. Out, his eyes also became cold. Tu Hu turned her head to glance at his sword. She then smiled unconsciously. In his mind, he recalled his previous words, I don't use swords carelessly. She then stood up and drew her sword. Bai Wuxian reminded, be careful, Xiao Hui, I have recovered a lot, so don't worry too much. Lu Ziren loudly shouted to his subordinates, whoever dares to run, I will kill first. All rushed to kill them. Go. Bok Vo Tran saw them charging and also charged. The long sword was continuously swung vigorously. Ice instantly appeared freezing their blades. Immediately after that, a sword blade slashed across the crowd's neck. Fresh blood then sprayed out like rain. The person who took action was none other than Tu Hu. Seeing their comrades die, the remaining group became even more aggressive and madly charged forward. Xiao Hui fearlessly held the sword and charged forward. Bai Wuxian on this side also madly swung his sword. A man of fire filled the sky. One person is frozen. Earth, ice and fire combine together to attack the crowd. Two opposing streams of power combine, forming a cross-shaped attack. This made the Lu Zi ninja behind him gape. The crowd was attacked and had no way to avoid it. They were sent flying and screamed miserably. Lu Ziren reached out and grabbed the collar of a subordinate beside him, then decisively threw him flying forward. He just flew towards the attack of two little people. His body was crushed to pieces. The terror from this combination of ice and fire made the mortal ninja even more terrified. Not stopping there, the two young people did not stop but continued to rush straight into the battlefield, fighting crazily. In no time, fresh blood was flowing from their bodies. Seeing his subordinates continuously dying before his eyes, Lu Ziren felt even more panic in his heart. I can't believe how strong those two guys are. Moreover, how did they end up working together so well? This is a massacre of two young people, not a fight anymore. Because they really work well together. Soon bodies were strewn all over the ground. Xiao Hui had just recovered a little, and now she was starting to feel a little weak and was constantly panting. Bok Vo Tran also realized this, thinking to himself. It seems she is very tired. Dealing with these small fry is not a problem, but when Lu Ziren makes his move, who knows what will happen. The two then split up again and each went their separate ways to fight. Bok Vo Tran swung his sword and released his true energy. The terrifying cold air instantly sealed off several opponents. Tu Hu did not miss the opportunity to rush forward and finish them off. Her body was now covered in fresh blood. She stood there panting, staring straight ahead. Seeing her expression made Lu Ziren feel terrified. Her next target, needless to say, was him. She did not rush to act but glanced at Bok Vo Tran as if asking for his opinion. He understood and immediately shouted loudly, "The little palace master of the Holy Fire Palace and the deputy palace master of the Iron Blood Palace will have a duel. As you can see, the little palace master is currently tired of dealing with you." Xiao Hui interrupted uncomfortably, "Tired? Who said I was tired?" Bai Wuxian didn't pay much attention and continued to shout loudly, "If Lu Ziren is a man, and if you deserve the title of deputy gang leader of the Iron Blood Gang, then do it yourself. There's no reason for you to refuse this duel, right? You plan to sacrifice your subordinates to drain her power, right? But if you do that, all your subordinates will die. If you don't want your subordinates to die, then step aside." The people from the Iron Blood Gang heard this and spoke up one after another. "Deputy gang leader, this is a duel. Too many of our subordinates have died already, so it is most appropriate for you to take action yourself. From now on, I and the sect masters will take responsibility for today's matter." Lu Ziren angrily scolded, "Take responsibility? What right do you have to talk about responsibility?" Xiao Hui also spoke up at this time, "Lu Ziren, are you that scared of me?" Faced with this provocation, he immediately laughed ferociously. "Huh, Bok Vo Tran is very good, you cunning thing, you plan to wait for an opportunity to secretly strike, right, Bok?" Wu Chen was serious, revenge was the little palace master's business. Lu Ziren heard that and immediately drew his sword. "Okay, come here. Let me see how good the martial arts of the little palace master of the Holy Fire Palace is." Tu Hu closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I know what you are thinking. But I hope you absolutely do not do it." Bok Vo Tran silently refused to comment. "Lily." Immediately she jumped away. Lu Ziren on this side also raised his sword. His sword was unusually long, making it difficult for the little girl to approach. He swung his sword wildly, "You can't even get close to me anymore." Xiao Hui did not care, still firmly swung her sword to defend. Bai Wuxian watched the battle from behind and thought to himself, it was not easy to approach the person using the long sword. After a while, Tu Hu began to circulate energy into her other hand. A ball of fire quickly appeared in her hand. Without hesitation, she threw it at her opponent. Seeing that, Lu Ziren immediately grabbed the shirt of a subordinate behind him. Use the opponent as a shield to block the fire. The remaining subordinates behind saw him being so cruel and couldn't help but beat him up. Sweat stopped, Lu Ziren continued to shout loudly and swing his sword. Sword energy like rain hit towards Tu Hu. Seeing his move, Bok Vo Chan couldn't help but widen his eyes. Xiao Hui's eyes were filled with sword light. Yet her eyes remained extremely calm. In her mind, she recalled the memories of when she was in the Holy Fire Palace. Under the guidance of her master, she practiced unceasingly, again and again. Xiao Hui was exhausted and powerless, kneeling on the ground. Li Kuan sighed as he was overwhelmed by the opponent's momentum. Making a strong attack is the shortest path to failure. Xiao Hui asked with a sullen face, "If the opponent is strong, then we have to fight harder, right? how can we win with half-hearted moves? Li Kun advised, stay calm. And open your mind to see through the opponent's weak points, just like a small flame can create a big fire. Subtle, sharp moves that penetrate the enemy's weak points, that is the way of the master. Just like a gentle wind can knock down a big tree, a small flame that flares up silently will become a sea of fire that shakes heaven and earth and incinerates the enemy. The scene changes back to reality. Xiao Hui slowly closes her eyes. Despite the opponent's attack that had already hit close to the front, Bai Wuxian behind was startled. Miss. Xiao Hui doesn't care at all. She did not dodge, nor did she block. In front, Lu Ziren was still crazily swinging his sword. Little Hugh still firmly stepped forward. This made him very happy. You are crazy, to dare to come in here without any fear. Because you are the little palace lord of the Holy Fire Palace, I intended to forgive you. From today on, the Holy Fire Palace will suffer the calamity of destruction. Xiao Hui's sword was also knocked out of his hand. Seeing this, Bok Vo Tran became even more worried. His sword-wielding arm clenched, ready to strike. At this moment, the voice of the little girl rang out again. I see, I see. Under the rain of sword energy, she saw the opponent's weakness. She clenched her fists and raised them forward. Then firmly grasped it. A small flame then flew out. It slipped through the gaps between the sword chi and flew away. It flew close to the front of the mortal ninja without any hindrance. He didn't realize it until it hit his neck. Xiao Hui coldly snorted, a small flame can also become a fire that shakes the heavens and earth, and will burn the enemy. Immediately after, the fire flared up fiercely, accompanied by the miserable screams of the streamer ninja. He just buried himself in the blazing fire. Bok Vo Tran witnessed everything and had to widen his eyes in surprise. The little flower at this time also had run out of strength and fell down. Bok Vo Tran saw that and rushed to help her. Miss Jean Ran, are you okay? Xiao Hui gasped, leaning against him without responding. Bok Vo Chan then gently laid her down on the ground. Xiao Hui's tired breathing was still coming out, she herself had already fallen asleep. Bok Vo Tran frowned in thought, is this a deviation? Probably not, must transmit true energy. Thinking so, he put his hand on her forehead. Then start the transfer of air. But immediately, he was startled. Because in the little Hugh's body, a stream of fire suddenly came out and knocked his hand away. This makes Bai Wuxian very confused. What is this? A strange stream of air with extremely strong force pushed back my true energy. Thinking for a long time, he loudly called her to wake up. Calling out without success, he condensed cold air into a finger. Then again point on the forehead of the little lily. She quickly let out a groan and slowly woke up. In her daze, she unconsciously said, Flame Emperor, must use true energy to suppress. Bai Vo Tran was shocked. Flame Emperor, do you need to circulate your energy and regulate your breathing? Miss Jean, can you still take it? Xiao Hui continue, take me to a place where there is no one. Bai Wuxian felt very confused, there was no one, what the hell was the Flame Emperor, why did he have to go to a place with no people? Although he didn't understand what was going on, he still helped her up. Miss Tran, please try to endure it, I'll ask for your permission. He just like that lifted her onto his back and took their swords. I said to myself, be patient a little longer, I will immediately take you to a deserted place. Immediately after that, he used his lightness skill to fly. Go, he used an extremely fast speed to fly through the forest. Still thinking in my head, what is the Emperor of Fire, the King of Fire or a panacea? Miss Tran, you have to explain clearly so I can help you. Little Hugh just quietly lay on his back and let him carry her. Very quickly the sky was light. On this side, more people from the Holy Fire Palace have arrived at the battlefield. This person is the Holy Fire Palace's envoy, Ly Mong Veen. Two other people came over and asked what was going on. Li Mengyan ordered, look around, the fire is about to go out, we might be too late. The other two immediately went to check. Very quickly, the news of Li Kuan's death was spread. Ly Mong Veen knelt down before Ly Khan's body, blaming himself. Big brother, I'm too late, why are you lying in a place like this? Another person spoke up, this guy seems to be the deputy leader of the Iron Blood Gang, Lu Ziren. Li Mengyan asked again, have you seen any traces of the little palace master? No, the other person shook his head, I don't see it, maybe it was taken away by the Iron Blood Gang. Li Mengyan retorted, no, Lu Ziren is dead, perhaps some other force has intervened. Hearing this, the crowd immediately gave a name, could it be the Nine Heavens Alliance? Ly Mong Veen ordered, first, Protector Jiang, please take the eldest brother back to Vanjia. Please report to the palace master, please report the truth so that the palace master can make a judgment. I will go in the opposite direction to find the whereabouts of the young palace master, if there is no result, I will return to Vanjia. There may be Iron Blood Gang forces around, so everyone be careful. After bringing the boss back, let's burn down the Iron Blood Gang together. The two men looked serious. Of course, we will prepare as soon as we finish reporting. Take care, see you at home. On the other side, inside a simple house deep in the forest, the little Hugh that Bok Vo Tran brought was lying on the bed. He was on the side taking care of her with a wet towel. But the wet towel just touched her body and was immediately evaporated by the heat. This makes Bok Vo Tran very confused, very strange. What is inflammation anyway? He then reached out to take Tu Hugh's hand and take her pulse. The whole room was quiet. But then a terrible fire broke out. Bok Vo Tran was startled, his eyes widened. This air is inflammation. He was not afraid but calmly closed his eyes. The arm holding the little Lily's hand used more strength to stimulate the cold air. Little Hugh quickly woke up and screamed. Bok Vo Tran saw that and asked, "Are you okay? How is it? Can I help? What is dactylitis?" She kept saying that in her coma. Xiao Hui explained, "Yen Di is the foundation of my divine power, now I must start to circulate my energy and regulate my breathing." She then took off her robe and sat in meditation. Before she meditated, she did not forget much and was completely calm. "If I don't wake up, can you bring my remains back to my father?" Bok Vo Tran frowned. "Remains, why did you say such terrible words? If I can't control the inflammation and bring it back to my Dantian, I might die. I will become one with the fire, I have practiced such martial arts." Bok Vo Tran frowned. How to help her? Xiao Hui explained, "When it erupts, father and the left and right envoys will transmit similar internal energy to support my great heavenly cycle and suppress the Flame Emperor. Now that the envoy is in trouble, even if the other two find me, it's not certain that they can suppress me. For now we will fend for ourselves. Bok Vo Chan, thank you for your help." He was silent for a long time, then spoke. "Tran Tu too. That air current is called the Emperor's Flame, let me try to suppress it." Xiao Hui sighed, "Our internal energy is not from the same source, so it will be difficult for you to endure, maybe it will burn that by family head." Bok Vo Tran heard that and immediately coldly snorted, "Want to burn me? Miss Tran, sorry, but do I look weaker than the Holy Fire Palace Master and the left and right envoys?" Tu Hu replied, "Not really, but the three of you working together is enough." Bai Wuxian coldly interrupted with a laugh, "Remember the martial arts match between you and me, could those three people together overwhelm me? You know the martial arts of those three people. You have fought with me before so you should understand clearly. How do you feel?" Xiao Hui was sweating profusely, thinking to herself, can father and the left and right envoys join forces to defeat the white family head? Bok Vo Tran smiled confidently and answered for her, "Impossible, even if all three of you join forces, it's impossible." Tu Hu smiled, "So you will help me?" Bok Vo Tran nodded, "Let me try." Waiting for Bok Vo Tran to leave behind her, she explained, "I will perform the great heavenly circuit, but my energy is not enough, my meridians will be blocked. Don't force it, if you're tired, take back your energy. Together. I don't want to die together," she said this to herself. Bok Vo Tran put both hands on her back and told her to start. "Whether it's the Emperor of Flames or the King of Hell, just give it a try." Both of them then closed their eyes separately. Then all by themselves, Bok Vo Chan began to transmit cold air into Tu Hu's body. He could feel the intense fire in her dantian. Before his eyes was a raging fire. He stared at it with wide eyes. The flames rose and floated before him. He looked at the fire and thought, "Is this called inflammation?" He continuously transmitted true energy into Tu Hu's body. Outside everything can be said to be stable. Little Lily can still hold on. And so is the white avalanche. Suddenly he snorted coldly. Whether it is the great law or a miracle, whatever the meaning of that fire, even if it is the fate of the Holy Fire Palace, it still cannot swallow me. Bok Vo Tran extremely confidently clasped his hands together. The fire in front was also raging at this moment. Cold air quickly appeared on the palm of the hand. He then waved his palm. The cold air rushed straight towards the fire, stopping it. Outside, his true energy was also crazily flowing into his body. Xiao Hui, her face was now covered in sweat and her expression was grimacing. The flames in his body became even more frantic, staring at Bai Wuxian. He could not help but look up in surprise. Because the anger at this moment had turned into a face staring at him. Bai Wuxian secretly thought in his heart, "Fire Dragon, is it an illusion that I imagined? Or is this really a form of arthritis? It's like it's mocking me." Thinking so, he immediately used his chi to use the White Flower Divine skill at the 5-star level. Next is the hexagram. Not stopping there, continued to increase 7 stars. Beside him at this time also appeared several more divine figures. This made Bok Vo Tran very surprised. He turned his head and glanced around, wondering, who is it? It can't be true, it's just an illusion. The fire dragon in front also started to move at this moment. It opened its mouth and spat fire towards him. Bok Vo Chan also did not have any fear, calmly waved his hand to fight. Flame and cold clash. Bai Wuxian secretly thought in his heart. Is this a world without sound? I can't hear anything. Outside he was still closing his eyes to circulate his energy. Same goes for little Lily. The white flower divine skill has now been raised to the 8th level. Inside the divine consciousness, the cold air in the Dantian flared up fiercely. The flames of the Flame Emperor still couldn't do anything to him. Bok Vo Tran shouted in a harsh voice. The cold air that poured out became even more powerful, pushing the flames back. Fire Dragon is not at a disadvantage, continue using it. Strength. Bok Vo Tran's face at this time had begun to become a bit tense. Just then, a few feet came walking over. The figures from earlier appeared again and walked shoulder to shoulder with him. They then all waved their spears to help him defend. 9 figures together released cold air to fight against the inferno. This made Bok Vo Tran very surprised. One of them he happened to see his father. Next to him was his paternal grandfather. It turned out that these people were the previous generations of patriarchs of the Bok family. The front emperor was now at a disadvantage. The crowd now rushed together to push back the fire dragon. White Town. No need to go that far, please let me do this myself. Dear predecessors, I am not worthy of everyone sacrificing for me like this. No matter how he shouted, the battle ahead was still extremely intense, and the group had absolutely no intention of retreating. Bok Vo Tran saw that and drew his sword. If that's the case, then. His 2 hands tightly grasped the hilt of the sword, raised it in front of him, sacrificing the cold air. Man and sword unite. He and the sword quickly merged into one, then he jumped away. His eyes were now more determined than ever. The fire dragon on the opposite side's eyes were also turning red. Bok Vo Tran did not hesitate to throw his sword straight at its head. The 2 sides quickly clashed head-on. The fire dragon roared in pain, its body slowly shattering. Outside the little Lily also coughed violently. Bok Vo Tran still closed his eyes, lost in thought. This cold gas. The previous family heads had all drawn their swords at this time. They also performed the man-sword fusion together. 9 attacks quickly continued to attack the fire dragon. Fire dragon has no way to resist, can only accept fate. The little girl outside was even more shocked, her mouth wide open. The group of people at this time had already gone behind Bok Vo Chan and transmitted true energy to him. Absolute cold, a white night. The fire dragon on its head was now covered with wounds. Sword. From the sword mark quickly burst out cold light. Xiao Hui's body on the outside also had similar changes. The fire dragon was finally defeated and dispersed, along with countless snowflakes floating in the wind. Bok Vo Tran knelt on the ground, clasped his hands to see off the seniors. His grandfather's praise rang out, "Well done, grandson. Hard work, my son." He looked up at the dissipating snowflakes and smiled, "Thank you everyone, father and grandfather." Because of his outburst, the sky outside was also affected by snow falling. The final transmission of the technique finally ended. The Flame Emperor was completely suppressed by the white void. At this time, he also withdrew his true energy and retracted his arm. Xiao Hui also let out a breath at this time. Bok Vo Tran slowly opened his eyes. He can see the true energy gathering behind the little Hue. The ultimate realm of martial arts. 3 flowers gather at the top when one circulates one's breath. An illusion of 3 flowers appears on the top of the head. But Miss Tran made flowers bloom from behind. She was stronger than before. Cold air at this moment also erupted from behind Bok Vo Chan. Then it flared up even more violently. The cold air turned into a pair of wings behind him. Little Hugh quickly woke up. Hero Bok Vo Tran thanked him, seeing her awake. He was startled, she was awake. Hugh looked at him doubtfully. "Are you okay?" Bok Vo Tran nodded. "Oh, I'm fine, Miss Jean, how are you?" Hugh stretched and warmed up her arms and legs. "Thanks to you, I feel better now. Maybe because I have completed the great heavenly cycle, my body has become lighter than usual." Bai Wuxian asked again, "How is the Yen Emperor's aura?" Xiao Hui replied, seeming to have calmed down. "Hero Vo Chan's true energy is even purer than I thought. I was worried that the extremely negative internal energy would affect it, but luckily it was just an illusion. Similar to when father and the left and right envoys helped, I'm stable now." Bok Vo Tran was puzzled. "What the hell is the Infernal Emperor?" "You may not believe it, but I saw an illusion when I helped you have a giant fire dragon hidden in your body. Tu Hu was very surprised when she heard that. Are you telling the truth? Bok Vo Tran's face was serious. How could I dare lie about that? Xiao Hui asked again, how is that fire dragon now? Bai Wuxian smiled smugly, I crushed it. Tu Hu heard and couldn't help but let out an ah sound. She raised her hand. The fire also spread out. Very quickly a flame appeared in the palm of her hand. She watched the fire and secretly exclaimed, how can I move my energy so easily? Unable to think, she continued to stimulate her inner energy. Fire constantly surrounded her body. Bok Vo Tran stood silently to one side observing everything. After a while, Tu Hu turned her head to glance at him. Cold air was also emitted from the shockproof arm at this time. He raised his hand suspiciously to look. The cold air erupted spontaneously, without him having to stimulate it. The little monk on this side saw this and waved his hand. Up, a stream of fire flew over, mixing with his cold air. Ice Fire Black Lotus seem to be incompatible, but are very harmonious. Xiao Hui's mouth corners raised, showing obvious joy. Bai Wu Town on this side is also similar. The two then danced together. Ice and fire intertwine with their every move. After a moment, a purple light formed between the two. Both of them stopped, and at the same time, a bowl of ice and fire was formed under their feet. Tu Hu sincerely looked at the man in front of her and exclaimed, thank you, brother. Bok Vo Tran smiled, fortunately she recovered. Xiao Hui looked at him with tender eyes. Faced with her gaze, Wu Zhen's face couldn't help but turn red. The two of them just stood there looking at each other. Tu Hu then closed her eyes and raised her head, implying that she should quickly take me. Bok Vo Tran saw that and smiled. He reached out to take her hand. The two were about to give each other a passionate kiss when at this moment a voice called out from outside, Little Palace Master. Immediately after that, someone rushed in from the roof. The two little people looked up in surprise. Ly Mong Veem rushed in and shouted loudly, why don't you let go now? He just like that full of murderous intent replied inside. The two little people were still dumbfounded, their eyes wide open. Ly Mong Veem used sharp eyes to glance at Bok Vo Chan. Immediately after that, he launched a series of attacks at him. Bok Vo Tran held Tu Hu in one arm and swung his palm to block her with the other hand. After a while, Li Mengyan began to stimulate his true energy. Bok Vo Tran saw this and immediately condensed cold air into his palm. Little Hu witnessed this scene and was shocked. But before she could stop him, he swung his palm and struck out. Fire and cold quickly clashed. Li Mengyan was naturally no match for Bai Wuxian. Cold air quickly penetrated through the fire and crept up his body. Xiao Hui panicked and shouted, stop right there, you two are not enemies. Bok Vo Tran immediately clenched his fist. The cold air was about to strike the body, and the Ly Mong Veen also disappeared. He escaped danger, secretly panicked in his heart, was that just white fire? Bai Wuxian's face was still very gloomy. The atmosphere fell into silence for a moment, and Xiao Hui finally had to speak up again to break the silence, can you let me go? Bai Wuxian was embarrassed and his face turned red. He immediately pushed her away. Oh, I'm sorry. Li Mengyan worriedly asked, Little Palace Master, are you okay? Xiao Hui shook her head, I'm fine. She then introduced, this is my right envoy, the left envoy is in trouble so he probably hasn't calmed down yet. And this one is the great hero Bok Vo Tran of Bac Tien Min. He is the one who saved my daughter from the Fire Emperor. Hearing this, Li Mengyan's expression immediately turned fearful. Yen Di meant, impossible. Who is he that can suppress the Flame Emperor? After a while, he calmed down, so first, let's hear what happened.
After hearing Tu Hu tell the whole story, he suddenly woke up, so that's it. So the little palace master almost lost his life. Tu Hu helplessly sighed. How many times do I have to say this? He was still amazed. It was unbelievable. Xiao Hui waved his hand. The envoy just checked my meridians himself. He nodded. That was indeed the case. He thought to himself, the young palace master witnessed the death of the left envoy. His vital energy went out of control and he fell into a coma, but he was saved by Bai Wuxian. Most of all, he suppressed the Flame Emperor, something that only the palace master and the left envoy could do together. This Bai Wuxian, who exactly is he? Xiao Hui spoke up again. You should apologize for what happened earlier. Vo Tran is my benefactor. Ly Mong V Mac finally compromised and nodded. I sincerely apologize to young hero for what happened earlier. Thank you young hero for helping the young palace master. Bai Wuxian nodded. It's nothing, that's the right thing to do. Li Mengyan continued, by the way, why have I never heard of the Snow Mountain by family? Bai Wuxian replied calmly, of course. He asked again, young hero uses ice techniques, it is truly a rare martial art. Strange, how come I don't know? I'm interested in strange people, I'm proud of knowing many experts everywhere. but this is the first time I heard of an ice expert. Public, Bai Wuxian explains, Snow Mountain by family. No, the previous generations of family heads did not bring them to Jianghu. Not appearing in Jianghu was the wish of the previous family heads, only I am different. The two little Hui were very surprised when they heard that. What's the difference? Do you mean you are now the head of the Snow Mountain White family? Bai Wuxian nodded calmly. That's right, he is the head of the Bai family, but also a warrior of the Northern Heavenly Alliance. Li Mengyan secretly thought to himself, why would the head of a family become a warrior of the Northern Heavenly Alliance? There must be some kind of background to this. The more I know, the more interesting I find him. Little Hugh was also surprised and cried out. Master, Bok Vio Tran smiled but did not answer. The atmosphere here suddenly fell into silence. Silence. After a while, Ly Mongvim spoke again to break the atmosphere. Young Palace Master, how do you plan to deal with the Iron Blood Gang? Little Hui immediately clenched her fists, her voice harsh. Of course we have to take revenge. He also gritted his teeth and agreed, is revenge enough? I will ask the Palace Lord for permission to wipe out the Iron Blood Gang from the martial arts world. Let's purify them with fire. Bok Vio Tran frowned and thought, purification by fire sounded like the doctrine of some religion. Xiao Hui glanced at him and smiled. I wish to join forces with the Northern Heavenly Alliance. The Holy Fire Palace and the Northern Heavenly Alliance will reduce casualties compared to acting alone. I will tell my father about this. Bok Vio Tran heard that and also smiled. Li Mengyan spoke again, is that so? That's great. After the Iron Blood Gang, we plan to attack the Nine Heavens Alliance. Now that we can cooperate, it's even better. By the way, may I ask where is Master Bai in the Northern Heavens Alliance? Bok Vio Tran calmly replied, I'm just a new recruit. Little Lily is silly, Master Bai is powerful, rookie or not is no problem. Ly Mongvim suddenly narrowed his eyes and glared at them. But what is your relationship? Be honest. No matter what answer I still haven't told the Palace Master. The two people heard that and glanced at each other. Xiao Hui then laughed and replied, what relationship? We're just benefactors. Bai Wuxian also laughed and scratched his head in agreement. That's right, it's just a relationship like ice and fire. Xiao Hui frowned and thought to herself, ice and fire. Li Mengyan continued, the young palace master is currently engaged, so please keep your manners. Xiao Hui heard this and stood up excitedly. What engagement? Li Mengyan continued, why are you pretending not to know? I already told you last time. Tiu Hu said harshly, just cancel the engagement and it's over. I haven't even met him yet and it's already considered an engagement. This is really forced. Ly Mongvim replied, the other party is not the type to be easily talked to. The palace master is worried because the little palace master spends all day wandering around competing in martial arts instead of preparing for marriage. The two of them then got into an argument. I didn't agree. They all arranged it when I was away. This isn't something to talk about outside. Little palace master. The crowd then clasped their hands in farewell. Tiu Hu instructed him, I saw the master off for a while and then turned back. You wait here. As soon as Bok Vio Tran said he was fine, she hugged him and dragged him away. After a while, the two were far away from the place where Ly Mongvin was. Xiao Hui said uncomfortably, you are just talking nonsense. When will we meet again? So, Bok Vio Tran was confused. What? She said again, I asked when we will meet again. Bok Vio Tran calmly replied, soon at the Iron Blood Gang, when revenge. Xiao Hui was skeptical, but would it be okay? The Northern Heavenly Palace and the Holy Fire Palace would be in conflict. Bai Wuxian continued, we will negotiate to avoid trouble. The little servant nodded. I can do it because I am the little palace master. What about you? Bok Vio Tran seriously nodded. Okay. Tiu Hu laughed. You are a new recruit. Bok Vio Tran asked again. Do you remember the feeling when fire and cold meet? Xiao Hui nodded. Of course I remember. Bai Wuxian continued. Let's practice coordination another time. She wondered. How to practice? Bai Vio Town explains. I will freeze. You burn. The little lily smiled and obeyed the master. The two then said goodbye and went home. Bok Vio Tran moved and secretly sighed. I've been gone for so long, the leader must think I'm missing. In his head, the words cleansing with fire from Ly Mongvin kept ringing. Was walking, he suddenly stood up. Again, he raised his hand to observe the palm. Immediately inside there was a white fire. Bai Wuxian was very surprised in his heart. Is this Bai Yan? In his mind he remembered that time. Just think simply, when I helped Tiu Hu, I absorbed part of the power of the Flame Emperor. He then waved his hand. The white fire flew away, destroying a nearby sky tower. This made him even more surprised. On top of his existing power, there was now also firepower. He then jumped up and accelerated his speed. Go, we are getting stronger, then. Must see where the limit is. Speed is still slower than white flower palm. Can cast cold air and white flame at the same time. On the other side fire is burning everywhere. Soldiers continuously died in bloody mess. There is a fierce battle going on here. A soldier had his head blown off by a big man. This person is from the Central Mountain Nine Heavens Bright Heavenly Dragon Association. After finishing his lesson, his opponent loudly shouted, "Let's go! Let's go to the north of the sky." Tian Long Hui Chu Quach Duong Chu smiled and said, "We have an appointment with Thiat Huyat Bang. Don't leave a single ant behind on the way." The crowd just went on and on, killing everywhere, causing blood to flow everywhere. On the wall, Ouyang Hu stood there with a grimace, observing below. After a while, he asked, "Has Bok Vio Tran not returned yet?" The person behind him replied, "There is still no news." Hearing this, O Duong Ho fell into deep thought again. The people of the Nine Heavens Alliance quickly arrived at the city's foot. O Duong Lake drew his sword and exclaimed, "What a pity! I intended to take this opportunity to show him how great I am." The crowd below was also frowning and looking up. One of them shouted, "Leader of the Northern Heavenly Alliance, I have come to reclaim my brother's life. This man is the Iron Blood Gang's leader, Min Kong." O Duong Ho smiled. "Because of a few insects, you dare to drag the entire Nine Heavens Alliance here. Your brotherly love is truly touching and makes people cry." Quan Man Kang glanced at the person behind him and asked, "Has the Tian Long Association arrived yet?" The Tian Long Association's leader behind him replied, "They are probably handling the aftermath and will be here soon." O Duong Ho on the wall gripped the hilt of his sword and shouted loudly, "Those insect lives will be rewarded handsomely by me." The enemy behind him also shouted towards the city, all preparing for battle. But at this moment, O Duong Ho called them to stop. "Open your eyes wide and look and write it down accurately. Write down what will happen if you dare to challenge the Northern Heavenly Lord Ouyang Hu so that future generations will know my reputation." One person worried loudly, but the enemy was too numerous. He was afraid he would have to deal with it alone. Before he could finish his sentence, O Duong Ho had already jumped away. He was fearless and rushed out of the city. The other person panicked and shouted to the crowd behind him, "When will Bai Wuxian return?" Still no news. Another person replied, he had sent Shimin Ku and Zhou Ziyan to look for him, but they had also lost contact. Hearing that, he gritted his teeth and cursed under his breath, "This is really damned. Bai Wuxian, where the hell are you? If you're going back, please hurry up." Outside the city, O Duong Lake is on a rampage of massacre. The blood that splattered on him made the smile on his face even more ferocious. On this side, Bai Wuxian was still maintaining a high speed while moving. While running, he suddenly opened his eyes wide, because what he saw was a scene of devastation and corpses lying everywhere. He stopped and looked around. "This is the territory of the North Heavenly Alliance. Has war broken out yet? I have a bad feeling." Thinking so, he continued to fly away. Over here a crowd of people were walking around massacring the living. Should take the lead and loudly give orders, "Do not leave any future problems. Whoever is still alive should be killed with one slash." Just then, something strange passed by them. This person is none other than Bok Vio Chan. The crowd saw him pass by and were terrified to the point of being dumbfounded. What just flew by? It was so fast. Hurry up and report to the team leader. It seems he is supported by the Righteous Faction or the 100 Li family. A moment later, somewhere, Bok Vio Tran was hiding in the forest counting numbers. He counted about 200 people. He frowned and thought, "They are heading north. Are they going to declare war on the Northern Heavenly Alliance?" Thinking so, he increased his speed and continued to rush forward. Very quickly, he came across another battlefield. Someone came before them. "Is that the North Wind Sword team? It's too late for me." Just then, a voice called out to the white brother. "Up!" Bok Vio Tran startled and turned his head to look back. He quickly ran over. Seeing the person lying on the ground, he immediately recognized it as Chu Tu Van. "What happened? Who did it?" Chu Tu Van replied, "It was QTN Min. I and other Westerners went to find Bokta and ask for outside help." Bok Vio Town frowned. "Taemon brother also." Chu Tu Van reassured, "Fortunately 11 men brothers seem to have escaped. When my white brother said this, he died and left." Bok Vio Chan put him on the ground, gritted his teeth. "Ju brother, it's only been a few days since we last met. Ju brother, rest in peace." Just then, someone behind him shouted, "That guy is here, we found him." Bok Vio Tran slowly stood up. One person reminded, "He is a master, be careful." Bai Wuxian coldly said, "Are you looking for me?" Zhongshan walked up and shouted, "Get out of the way, what the hell are you being careful about? He's just a brat, just kill him and it'll be over." Cold air immediately appeared in the palm of Bai Wuxian. The crowd was shocked when they saw him use ice techniques. Surprised, Bok Vio Tran raised his hand. The cold air turned into a flower and flew up. The crowd was even more surprised when they saw this. "What is that? Is it a flower?" Bok Vio Tran looked at them with sharp eyes. He then clenched his fist. The flower instantly shattered into countless tiny pieces of ice. He then waved his hand. The ice turned into a rain of dark energy, shooting straight down at the crowd. Only Zhongshan can block with weapons. His men were almost completely wiped out. He laughed with delight. "This ice-tossing game is interesting." The person behind reminded him in panic, "Zhongshan, we need reinforcements to win. We have to call the guild master. Bok Vio Tran reached out to grab the hilt of his sword, call for all the guild leaders and reinforcements. He immediately drew his sword. Out! I will kill them all without leaving a single one.